Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Superior Adventures Guild. My name's Dave, your humble host for tonight's thrilling episode of Monday Night Mayhem. There's a whole new crew of people here that I get to play with. I'm so excited for everybody to introduce themselves, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. Thanks for being here. If you're in the chat, hanging out with us, we appreciate you all. Looking forward to interacting with you throughout the stream tonight. I am super excited to introduce my friend Miko. We just met not too long ago, but Miko's been helping out around here at the guild and has jumped in to run this two-shot in Ysterra, a world that came out of Miko's head. So I'm sort of scared, actually, now that I'm talking about it. This is all happening. So without further ado, Miko, I want to turn it over to you to introduce yourself, the setting, and we'll get around to introducing some of these awesome people that we have lined up. So thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Miko. You can find me online in mainly the Twitter space. I am at @the_okayest_GM. I have been GMing games for a really long time. In case you couldn't tell by the gray hair, I am fairly old, and the world of Ysterra is something that I've been working on for several years, that I've been building up through my own home games and things like that. But this is the first time that I get to do it on stream, and this is the first time that I get to run a game on stream. So it's fitting that I get to do it in my own world, which gives me all of the feels. We have a wonderful cast of players and characters here tonight to help craft this wonderful story that we're about to bring to you. And I think I'm just going to run us around the table and let everybody do their introductions. We will start with Adrian. Tell us about you, where people can find you, and give us a little tiny glimpse into your character you're playing tonight, please.
Sure thing. Hi, my name is Adrian. My character is named Maris. As for myself, I've been playing tabletop role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons since the late 1900s. Good old 30 years or so. Don't let the dark hair fool you; it's all hair dye. For me myself, I'm an actor producer and getting really into the digital realm. This is maybe my fourth Twitch stream. I'm so grateful to be able to be a part of this group and to play with new people and discover new worlds. I really enjoy storytelling. You can find me mostly on Twitter at @slysparrow_, and look me up on Instagram as well to see what latest trouble I'm getting into online. So glad to be here. My character is a water genasi rogue swashbuckler. So he's using his rapier, his wit, and sometimes both. So looking forward to this game.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Aaron, kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Great to be here, guys. My name's Aaron. For those of you who don't know, I'm also the brother of Miko, or Michael.
No way.
Yeah, sad but true. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons on and off for about 15 years, run a couple games, been a part of a couple of games, so I'm always happy to play. I also work in healthcare, so during the COVID pandemic, I was very busy and am still busy today. I'm also a tabletop hobbyist. I paint and print miniatures, and I love crafting these stories with not only my friends, but brand new people like the cast we have here today. My character is a halfling artificer named Devresser, or Dev for short, who's going to be accompanied by a steel defender named Audacio. We're going to have a fun dynamic going there. I hope you guys really enjoy that. And I'm glad to be here and hope all of you have fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Dave, I'm pretty sure most people know you, but just in case, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, everybody. My name's Dungeon Dave, DM Dave. I play games, produce games, and run games here on Guild Superior, and I am the chief wrangler and instigator of what appears to be awesome folks who have agreed to play games here. So I really appreciate everything about this opportunity. I am playing tonight Loris Carstone, a Earth Genasi, I would say kind of an enforcer type someone who is quiet when they need to be quiet, and when they need to be loud, it's usually when they're pounding you into dust. Cracked earthen-like skin and a glow in their eyes that you don't want to see up close, because when you do, it's already too late.
Awesome. Joey, finish this out here, sir.
Amazing. Hello, everyone. My name is Joey Medina, pronouns he, him, his. I've been playing TTRPGs for the past 5 years. I love it. All my DMs hate it, but I love it. I work at a nonprofit that serves low-income LGBT members of our community. Some fun facts about me. I'm a Libra. I'm currently working on a D&D podcast with purely POC queer people. I'm super gay. I'm super brown, and I'm just super excited for tonight. It's my first live stream. I love D&D, and so I hope I can really get Miko annoyed. So we'll see how this goes.
Oh no.
Just remember, I'm playing at a game with my brother. You're going to be hard pressed to annoy me more than him. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Oceana, please?
All right, sorry, all about me. Sorry. My character, Oceana Aguan, pronouns she, they. She is a glamour bard. She is determined and strong, fucking gorgeous. Basically a goddess. Debatable if she actually is one. You'll see. But yeah, she's your new internet sensation, I promise you.
Wonderful. We will also be in the various points throughout the game tonight. You will see art for not only these wonderful characters, but also Ysterra. Just to get it out of the way, I did create all of the art for tonight's game through a combination of AI tools as well as Photoshop. If anyone is interested in talking about the pros and cons of AI art with me, please hit me up on Twitter. I'm happy to discuss such things. And then lastly, Dave, I forgot to ask this. Do we actually have Kay's chat command still available?
I'll set it up and I'll get it in there. Yep. 100%.
Okay, great. I want to throw a shout out to one of our group that couldn't unfortunately be with us tonight. Their name is Kay. They've unfortunately had some personal circumstances that have been kind of trying for them, and they really wanted to be here tonight. But unfortunately could not make it, and I just want to give them a shout out. If you can, hit them up on Twitter and just tell them how awesome they are, because they really are an awesome individual. Check them out. Dave will get some links to their description and Twitter handles in chat soon. So yeah, without further ado, let's kick this off, and let me tell you all a little bit about the world of Ysterra. So, what happens to a world built on magic that is filled with fantastical creatures, protected by powerful beings carrying the motes of power from a dead god that finds itself on the verge of an industrial revolution? Well, let's see. The world of Ysterra has a fairly chaotic history, founded by a dying godlike being worshipped elsewhere in the multiverse. They desired, in their dying moments, to preserve a world from the influence of beings such as them. They did this by seeding the nascent world of Ysterra with the remnants of their deific power. This essence has been born throughout the existence of Ysterra into powerful immortal beings whose sole purpose is to protect Ysterra and its denizens from the rest of the planar multiverse and to allow the world to evolve. These beings, now known as the Ascendant, have spent eons since that time guarding the world, fending off gods and planar beings from elsewhere, and shepherding the evolution of Ysterra. But such things have come at a cost. The world of Ysterra today is not what it once was. There have been many instances throughout time of events that have reshaped both, or magically as well as physically, the scape of Ysterra. But one such event that happened almost a millennia ago, referred to as the Alluvance, was a cataclysmic event resulting from the violent destruction of one of these ascendant, one of these supposedly immortal beings that no one thought could be destroyed. This forever changed the landscape of the mainland continent of Ysterra when it created this vast magical inland sea into the continent. Now, the significant events that the Ascendant have been part of that have influenced Ysterra, some might consider those things detrimental. But in the almost 1,000 years since the Alluvance, the Ascendant have chosen a form of imposed self-exile to limit their impact on the mortals of the world. It is their job, after all, to safeguard the peoples. So why would they not hold themselves responsible for things that have resulted in so many peoples having been destroyed? There are some technicalities to this exile, though, and this exile has impacted the people of Ysterra in and of itself, although the common person may not fully understand it. History has been dominated by the influence of the Ascendant, but ever since their exile, the future of Ysterra has been influenced by the mortal races and not these powerful beings. Educational progress, advancements in invention, progressive everything has increased population growth, and the rise of powerful governmental orders, the diminishing of the significance of the Ascendant, all of these various things have led the civilizations of Ysterra towards a pending industrial revolution. There are still strong elements of the old world holding on to what defines them, but there's also an undercurrent of change in the world, and no one knows, particularly most of Ysterra, what this change will bring and whether it will be for the good or for not. The future can tell. Our adventure today is going to be taking place in a country called the Kuvalian Commonwealth. It is the largest country of Ysterra, with nearly 1/3 of the entire population of the world inhabiting it. It is an extremely large country. The only one, or I should say the largest, that is, with its defined boundaries. There are other lands that are perhaps a little bit less ruled that might be physically larger, but they are no country, especially compared to the Commonwealth. Surrounded on all sides by either dense, rugged mountain ranges that are near impassable, that reach well above the clouded skies, or completely impassable oceans writhing in chaos from the tumult of Ysterra's three moons wreaking havoc on the tides. This wonderful landscape of land between the seas and mountains is dotted with forests, rivers, lakes, hills, plains, all of them touched by some kind of elemental energies. No historian, scientist, or arcanist has ever been able to truly explain what has shaped this portion of Ysterra in this way, but the general consensus is that it has to have somehow involved the Ascendant in one way or another. So from the chaos of the Kuvalian lands, the people that inhabit it were once just as chaotic, comprised almost entirely of Genasi peoples. Thousands of years ago were engaged in brutal tribal conflict with one another. But at the beginning of the dawn of Kuvalia, just more than 2 millennia ago, there came a peace when a war chieftain saw a way to form as many alliances as necessary and bring about an end to the constant strife of their lands. From this dawning of a new age for these now Kuvalian people came prosperity. Not always without some strife. Strong peace for the people has caused it to thrive. The relative isolation of Kuvalia has helped, with only a handful of instances of conflict erupting from beyond the mountains into Kuvalia. Now it's a little bit easier, though, to travel around the land without all of this conflict. So much so that the civilization that has sprouted up in Kuvalia dots almost every corner of the land itself. You can't travel for more than a day or two without coming upon a village or town in Kuvalia, and only the mountains and then occasional deep forests remain wild, as it were. The beautiful landscape of Kuvalia, though, is still dotted with all of the elemental energies that were brought about during its founding, and this has not only shaped the people, but also shaped the civilization itself, with architecture being formed into the landscape of things, with the combinations of elemental earth, air, water, and fire all contributing to the thriving of this civilization and the building up of it. Some believe, however, that this example of civilization is starting to fray at the edges. A few hundred years ago, mountain passages were opened up to the south and to the east to connect Kuvalia to the rest of the world. This has brought about trade and prosperity, but also people. The Commonwealth is no longer just Genasi. It is still predominantly Genasi by a staggering margin, but now there are people from elsewhere that have come into the lands of Kuvalia. There are people that are giving birth to whole new families in Kuvalia that are Kuvalian but are not Genasi, and this creates some tension at times. Some people still cling on to what Kuvalia once was, but the capital of the Commonwealth, capital city of Kuvalia, is a thriving metropolitan city with millions of people that live within it, taking more than a day just to travel from, or just to walk from one side of it to the other. You will never find anywhere else in Ysterra a place that has so many people in such a vibrant locale. Nestled not far from the southern mountain ranges, you will find the Kuvalia to be the capital, rather, of Kuvalia to be prosperous, with all manner of people thriving within it, as well as the major seats of government. That is the Alduan, the prime minister, as it were, of this large parliamentary government, as well as the guild proctor, a pseudo-elected representative of the various guilds of the Kuvalian Commonwealth, as well as the Dayan, the highest ranking member of an order of monks referred to as the Order of Kaio, who serve as the spiritual and military leaders of Kuvalia itself. Of the near 3 million people that inhabit this capital city, now almost 1,000 years old in and of itself, you will find all manner of education, diversity, and political intrigue, as it were, coming to this place. And it is here in this place that we begin to see some of the people that we will be adventuring with on this day. Adrian. Maris finds himself at a familiar tavern. This one is a little bit just outside of the capital city, a place that he likes to do business, as it were, because it is a little bit further away from the prying eyes of monks that like to stick their nose into business that doesn't belong to them. A place where a person can go and have a drink in quiet and solitude when they need to, but can also find all manner of lively activity should they want it. Fairly large tavern, predominantly occupied by ne'er-do-wells, some might call them. Can you tell us what what Maris looks like as he is standing there in this tavern completing his recent business transaction?
Yes, as the light would come upon Maris, you would see a water genasi around close to 6 feet tall, with kind of bluish aquamarine skin, kind of flesh colored, kind of a bronzy sea foam green, hair that kind of waves, very aquatic looking. But most striking is a very long, elaborate coat with lots of silver embroidery and a symbol on its back. It's a very illustrious symbol, something from a long time ago, some sort of personal sigil, some kind of insignia of sorts, kind of his calling card. Long boots, wearing lots of different color leathers, always with a flashing grin on his face, and always seems to have almost like seaweed type stubble. There's always stubble on his face. Always have a very elaborate rapier to his side, and always seems to be flipping a coin in between his fingers. Usually when it comes down to being in taverns, he's usually leaning up against the wall with one leg kind of bent at the knee, kind of observing everyone about. If he's in this particular tavern, he's probably finishing up a deal and waiting for his contact.
Wonderful. So as you are sitting and waiting in this illustrious den of thieves, as some like to call it, the people coming and going are giving each other wary smiles to hint as though they all know what business is taking place, but no one, generally speaking, comes out and says what business is taking place here. They prefer to just revel in the glorious food and drink of the place, as well as maybe occasionally partake in a little bit of gambling at various tables. Impromptu, of course, because the owner of the establishment does not condone such base behavior, surely not. And what people do here is entirely up to them. I mean, I can't be held responsible for such things, can I? And as you are standing there with your goods sitting in the satchel just at your side, waiting for your contact, you feel, you heard him coming, you recognized the footfalls, you weren't entirely surprised, and even though you could prevent it, you decide it's better to let him have his moment. Your contact, as it were, Karen, slap you on the back, right on that glorious insignia on your cloak that he loves making fun of so much. You see a Earth Genasi man, roughly 6'4", 6'5", standing behind you, huge by comparison to yourself. But generally speaking, he's huge by comparison to most. As Karen slaps you on the back and says, Maris, my good man, you have brought me what I needed, I assume.
Karen, how many times have I told you not to do that? Oh, man. Yes, I have it. Do you have the money?
What kind of question? Of course I have the money.
Well, then I guess
Let's
it's
see
time
the
to cash out
goods.
then. Shall we?
Let's see the goods.
I don't know why I went through so much trouble getting this. And if I really did tell you, I would up the price. But since we're such good friends, I open up the satchel. Just because this book comes from the Outer Lands, I don't know why it's so valuable. It's in a language I can't even read. I show them the book in the satchel.
You open the satchel. He starts to reach his hand in. You quickly
Slap.
close the satchel. Yeah, out of the way. He pulls his hand back and has a sly smile on his face and says, yes, well, I don't always know why these things are being purchased either. I was tasked with getting it, and I thought you were just the man to do it for me. And I was right. Go figure. I'm usually right about these things.
You've always been a great judge of character. So, shall we finish with this exchange? I've got more business to tend to.
What? What else do you have to do? Surely this is the most important thing on your list of today's activities.
I'm looking around at some of the food and drink being poured and just, well, I guess the scenery's not too bad. Let's just make it quick. I don't like to make myself stay too long in establishments where I might be able to be identified. No.
Maris, how many times do I have to tell you? In my establishment, you don't have to worry about such things. And as he says that, he snaps a finger, and the barkeep behind the bar tosses up a small pouch of coin onto the bar behind you.
I go up towards the very, very smaller pouch than I thought it would be, and I jingle it in my hand, just kind of feeling it. And there better be gems in here.
Look. You
There
should
is
take a look
awfully small.
inside, my friend.
What is this?
As you pull open the pouch, you see nothing but platinum
Oh.
inside. Easily 24 coins.
I don't know who your benefactor is, but they must really want this book. I walk slowly, take it out.
Hand it over.
Hand the book over.
He just calmly passes the book over to the barkeep behind you. His eyes have, by the way, never wavered away from you as he has been watching you so carefully.
Don't mind the blood on the book. It's not mine.
I don't care about such things. A little bloodletting is good for the soul, I find.
Okay.
So, would you care to join us for a game? We're
Game
about
skill?
to play Truist.
Oh, jeez. Remember last time I played? All right. I have to win back my winnings anyway, so one more time.
One round. This should be all that's necessary.
Fine.
Come join us. And he like puts his very, very large, heavy arm around your shoulders, and you feel the weight of it. You feel the grip of his hand into your shoulder, kind of reinforcing that whole notion of you might be able to take other people's money, but you're not taking mine, as the common thing that you have played with him many, many times. Truist is a game of chance and skill with cards that Maris has played dozens, if not hundreds of times over the years. Tell us, though, how has Maris done over the years of playing Truist and his various other gambling activities?
You know, Maris is definitely someone who loves games of chance more than skill. He does very much believe that there is a kind of a presence of luck that has allowed him to survive in the numerous encounters. So any chance to kind of override authority with good old luck, it's one of the few thrills he still kind of strives for. So when he comes and sits down upon this table, he's looking to get an extra 15% from what he was given. So this might be his best chance.
Fair enough. As you are escorted over to the table, you see the usual group of hangers-on to Karen, as well as a handful of people sitting off in the back, as well as a new face that Maris has never seen before. That is a young fire genasi that just reeks of someone that perhaps has taken a little bit of money from their father, or from an inheritance, or from something, and believes that their home game of Truist can let them play in these types of arenas. Easily, Maris recognizes him as a mark that could garner more than a handful of gold from, if he so wished. There's an open chair for Maris, sitting across from this fire genasi young man, and you and Karen both take your seats at the table. Do me a favor and roll a d6.
One moment. Let's see. One.
You get to lead off the deal.
Oh.
So Truist being a game of not only skill and chance, there is an element to bartering within the game. I'm not going to tell you the way the roll affects things, because that would turn it into a game mechanic that can be exploited. And so basically the summary of Truist from a mechanical perspective for you is you're going to roll a d20, and then you're going to tell me if you want to go high or low off of that d20.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do a roll on the back side of here, and then depending upon what your choices were is going to determine whether or not you actually can win a hand or not.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll a d20 for me and tell me if you want to go high or low off of it.
Do I tell you the number or just higher or lower?
The number and whether you're going higher or lower.
I rolled, I rolled another 1, and so I will.
I'm assuming you want to go higher.
Yeah, so I'm going to go higher than that.
Okay, probably a good call. Probably a good call.
And as I come up to this table, I'm literally like just saying, gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen, Vecchio, I remember you, and just go and literally like this table is my second home. Almost as if I were going to put my feet up, like, gentlemen, shall we begin a game? And then just throw the dice, not even look at it, and say higher. Like, blind.
Okay. Well, the dice is just a mechanic for us.
Right.
It's actually
Or
a card. It's actually a card
whether
game.
like
Yeah.
not even looking at the cards, just like let's do it.
Yeah. As you so eloquently sit down at the table, of course, you get the usual responses of sneers and snickers from a few people. You recognize a couple of people that you've taken money from in the past, as well as somebody that took all of your money last time, sitting at the table as well. So amongst this table of sharks, as it were, there is the one lone little fish of a fire genasi sitting there. And pretty much you recognize easily that everybody is fixated on them to take their money. But in this first hand, unfortunately for you, you have gotten the worst hand possible in the game. And you have tried to bluff your way through, but unfortunately, the Fire Genasi seems to have lucked out and gotten the second best hand possible and carries it through to the point that you end up losing a full platinum piece off of this young man who is ecstatic with his win. Give me an insight check, please.
$14.
14. You are fairly certain the way that the hand has played out, which, it takes several minutes to play a hand of Truist. The way the hand is played out, this young man is fooling everyone at the table with his appearance.
With his appearance?
He's making it seem like he's a novice. And you have kind of seen through a little bit of that. But in the meantime, as the cards are being played out, conversation strikes up, and you hear Karen kind of mention to the table, so what do you guys think about all of these foreigners and this whole attack on the monastery that happened a few weeks back? You've been gone, Maris, getting this book, so you're probably not necessarily familiar with this occurrence.
I want to keep a keen ear on this. Like, what are you talking about? Who would attack which monastery?
Which one was it? As he leans over, and before the guy that Karen leans over to responds, the Fire Genasi kind of clears his throat and says, it was the iridescent flower. And then he realizes that he probably shouldn't have spoken and kind of digs his head back into his cards as everybody at the table looks at him. Right. Iridescent flower, that one.
I didn't know the monastery had any enemies. Who would dare attack a monastery, especially the iridescent flower? Because I keep just staring down the Fire Genasi, like.
As you are staring him down, he just like wilts under your gaze, and Karen's, I don't know. I mean, from what I understand, it was supposedly people from some far-off land that, certainly not Kuvalian. No one in Kuvalian would do such things, of course.
It's your deal.
Oh, right. He goes up and collects his cards. At this point, would you like to employ some of your subterfuge to try to win a hand?
Yes. I do have I know that these are cards or whatnot, but I am going to attempt to use a couple of my roguish tricks to kind of tip the odds more into my favor, because obviously something's afoot with this gentleman, and it's time to even up these odds.
Wonderful. So along with your D20 roll and whether or not you call high or low, I need you to also roll a sleight of hand roll, please.
The die roll is 16. Sleight of hand is 18.
Nice.
And I will go with lower.
You go with lower. Okay.
Wait, is it that I want my number to be lower or your number to be lower than mine?
That's the ploy of the cards.
Gotcha. Don't know.
Yeah, you don't know which one. It's about playing the odds.
Gotcha.
And in this case, going lower, you are playing the odds, and you have successfully managed to come out on top, particularly with the extra card that you have managed to tuck away into your sleeve and adding it to your hand to give you a fairly strong representation. So much so that you end up scooping about 35 gold pieces into your stash, as it were. And it is around this time as you guys have played several hands up to this point. You know, you've been at this for a little bit. You've been drinking just ever so slight amount, not enough to, of course, impact you in any way, but you're starting to feel a little bit long as the various hands have gone neutral. You still are out ahead of the game for once, and happy to have it, when all of a sudden you hear this flapping noise, and you're a fairly perceptive individual, so it's kind of easy for you to pick out a very strange sound in the middle of a tavern, that of a flapping bird. And before it comes any closer, you whip your head around and you see a glorious looking origami eagle fly into the room, flapping. It's not very large per se, like it's probably not much bigger than the size of a hummingbird. As it just flies into the room and seems to be beelining straight for you.
I will just have my eyes kind of wide in wonder, like, ooh, oh boy, and watch it approach.
The table, stops, basically. All activity at the table stops as this paper origami hummingbird comes flying and lands on the table immediately in front of you, looking up at you, and then all of a sudden folds itself into a folded up piece of paper right in front of you.
I will very hurriedly grasp for it before anyone else grabs it on the table. I know usually when things are on a table, it's either keep your hands to yourself, but in this case, I want to make sure to grapple it both in my hand in case it were to fly away again. Is there?
You reach down, scoop up the obvious letter at this point, magically imbued with some kind of power, and you immediately see a message from your friend Aurora, asking you for help, telling you to come to the place where we first met, which you know to be another establishment not too different from this one, but perhaps with slightly better food deep in the heart of the capital of Kuvalia.
Okay.
As you scoop the letter, do you have any immediate reactions in hearing from your friend that you have not heard from in many years?
I will actually I will read it twice. I will just kind of stare at it, and to a moment where I actually forget that I am sitting at a card table. Like for that instance, the rest of the world does not exist. This is a complete surprise to me. And then I'll be like, until I really just come back to my senses and realize that everyone's still staring at me at this table. And then immediately scoop it up and try to get it into my pocket. Like,
everything all right there, Maris?
Yeah, just there's always, in my line of business, there's always somebody calling, and as much as you can try, you can never outrun your past.
I usually find the best way to deal with your past is to buy someone off.
Well, some people can't be bought. One day you'll find someone like that, Karen.
Yeah, those people I usually kill.
And then just look at the time. Yeah.
As you make motion to start leave and scooping up your winnings and whatnot, you hear this confused sound from across the table as the fire genasi looks at you and points and says, "Hey, what is that?" And he
What is
points
what?
at your sleeve, and you look down and you see hanging half out of your sleeve that extra card that you had tucked away from the hand that you had won all of that coin from. And one of Karen's companions sitting next to you glances over and sees the card as well.
You know, they make these frilly shirts these days that look so unusual. Where did that? Sometimes things just get caught up in there. You know what? It's probably best if I go and I try to
A
stand.
hand immediately reaches out and grabs onto your shirt. Explain to us, please, the encounter that ensues for Maris and these individuals as he does eventually succeed in getting at least physically out of this establishment.
As he looks down into the winnings and realizes that he has not grabbed all of it yet, and he feels that due to this origami eagle, he has lost his momentum and probably his reputation in this establishment. But nevertheless, a speedy retreat is required. So he will put his hands up, be like, all right, as any scoundrel here knows that sometimes you have to make your own luck. And I do admit that this one was maybe not my best encounter. By all means, you may take the winnings. And yes, strong grip you got there, strong grip. And as I lift my hands up, and it's always funny that it's Karen that's always slapping me on the back and always kind of hitting me in that same spot every time I come here, because that's actually how I escape. As I lift up my arms, he goes, "Well, ladies, gentlemen, and all others, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I indeed must leave this establishment." And suddenly the symbol, which is like a seahorse with like this with like two crossed swords, but kind of archaic looking, on the back of my coat, begins to glow very, very slightly, starts to like emanate. And as the earth genasi is like really gripping down and trying to place me back into the seat, my skin begins to become more like water, and you can see kind of like how it looks at the bottom of a pond or a pool. And suddenly his hand starts to go through me as I become more like a water elemental, as I turn into flight and proceed to exit the establishment, leaving a trail of water. It is not yellow, not that scared, but it is leaving a trail of liquid as I rush through into the shadows and leaving the establishment, leaving a nice, as I leave, I'll wink one more time and put on my hat as I literally go through the door like a T-1000 Terminator.
Wonderful. So yes, Maris on his way to, I assume, arrive as quickly as possible to help out his dear friend Aurora.
Yes.
Next, let us move on to Devrister and his consummate companion Audacio. As we look into the deep bowels of Kuvalia, beneath the city, dozens of feet down below, where no one dares to go, because why would they ever want to do such things? We find a workshop of some kind, as it were. Aaron, can you please describe for us Devriser, his companion, and this glorious workshop that he has constructed for himself as a hermit beneath the city?
So Devriser is a halfling. He's about average height for one. He's got sort of salt and pepperish hair, fair skin, and he's wearing probably like some heavy work clothes, something thick to where if he got something hot or anything on him, it wouldn't really faze him that much. and he's wearing some goggles that he uses while he's either smithing or tinkering of sorts. He's kind of when he moves around, he hunches a little bit, whether it's being him at his workstation or he's just kind of moving about. He seems to have like this like very reserved look about him, where he's kind of like this and like, you know, just in a either focused really hard or he's just kind of kept to himself. And his faithful companion, Audacio, which is his steel defender, is probably making his way around the workshop. He's relatively tall, definitely the exact opposite of Devresser. Still, in terms of like a person, he'd be roughly probably like 6'4", big, hulking, with, you know, various accoutrement in terms of like his design, which makes him look very unique, with some green accent lighting on a couple of his parts that gives him sort of a ghoulish glow in a sense. And the workshop is probably what you would expect of someone who is a recluse and a hermit. It's just bunch of things strode about. There's no real true sense of organization. They say geniuses are crazy and disorganized. Well, he borderlines that. His workstation has a bunch of parts that if you were to ask him where something is, he'd be immediately able to find it, but anyone besides himself or maybe Audacio would just have a very hard time even remotely finding what you're looking for. And he's probably tinkering about his workshop at his workstation on some kind of device that you have no idea. There's just enough lighting in there to really like get a sense or feel for the rest of the workshop, but otherwise it's a little gloomy. It only has, enough to where you can get by without tripping over something. And he's just tinkering away.
Well, speaking of tripping, Audacio stumbles over one of the piles, knocking it to the side inadvertently, and says, "Oh dear me, I am so sorry for that, sir. I will clean that up now, I promise you," and reaches down to start picking up the piles of random junk as it just tumbles out of his large hands, creating a little bit of chaos in the room for you.
Don't worry. It's okay. I don't think you damaged anything. We'll work on that later. I must continue my research.
Yes, of course, sir. You will be pleased to know that new parts that you had asked me to acquire are nice and accounted for, and I will have them upon your bench later on this evening.
Perfect. I will enjoy that very much. Is there something amiss in the workshop?
So this entire workshop is amiss, as I have said day in and day out for much of our existence together, and I very much wish you would allow me to organize it to a much better state, as that is kind of what you built me to do.
No. Please don't organize it. It's exactly the way I want it. I'd rather you not.
Of course, sir. I will not organize anything, as he slowly, when you turn away from him, starts putting things into like proper places within like your toolbox to make them more organized, and deftly trying to avoid your notice in doing so.
He continues about his work, trusting his companions, not organizing things too much. And he's probably working. He's got a couple of items that he's working on by inscribing runes or the whatnot. As he's furthering his research into artificing, there's a bit of a glow on his hands and on his tools as he's makeshifting or MacGyvering something. He's not quite sure what it does yet, but it'll do something.
Wonderful. As you're sitting there doing the work, Audacio is doing his best to remain as quiet as possible, knowing that if he makes too much noise, it disrupts things for you, and he doesn't want to do that. But inevitably, after a fair bit of time and silence, Audacio can't contain himself anymore, and he says, "Sir, you know, it would probably be a good idea if you were to perhaps go up into the streets again sometime soon."
Is it dark yet?
It, I'm sure, will be dark soon enough, good sir. But you know that if you spend too much time down here and not see another living being, well, you get a little weird.
What do you mean weird? I saw what was their name? Aurora. Not too long ago, I would think. What was the last time?
5 years, 3 months, and 27 days.
See, not too long ago.
Right. Sir, you need to go up. There are things happening up. There are people up. You would be
Well-
good to be around people, sir.
Sometimes you are much better than people.
As much as I thank you for such compliments, sir, I am fairly certain that you are required to say such things as you are my creator and I am a representation of your good work.
Well, let's not have an existential crisis about it. I guess maybe a trip up to the surface once in a while that doesn't hurt. Vitamin D is good for the skin, they say. What say
Yes,
we go
indeed.
tonight?
Tonight? All right, sir. I shall go and make sure that things are clear for you this evening. And he starts making his way up one of the ladders to one of the exit ways from your workshop. And you hear the heavy metal grinding of the heavy door that blocks all of anyone that might possibly endeavor down here, whether they be civilized or not, that keeps them out of your workshop. And as that door opens, a flapping origami bird flies into the room violently, as if it had been slamming itself into this heavy metal door for who knows how long, trying to get in to see to its intended target. It flies into the room and starts beelining directly for Dev. However, Audacio, being the stalwart protector that he is, reaches out and snags it out of the air in one violent motion, clutching it in his grip, crumpling it, as it were, in his giant metallic hand. Does Dev have any immediate reaction?
Can he hear
Any
it?
of that?
Can he like hear the sound of his hand clenching like that, or I'm assuming
he
he's
did.
far enough away.
Oh yeah, sure. So Dev may not have seen any of that, as you know, our audience that is watching this scene unfold sees Dev's stalwart companion crush this message that was obviously meant for Dev. Dev, lost in his work at his bench, perhaps finally having put aside as quickly as the thought came to him the notion of him actually going up above, and Audacio, recognizing that perhaps this small paper object in his hand wasn't trying to kill his master, opens up his hand and sees a crumpled up version of not the origami bird, but rather a piece of parchment that would be folded if it were not so heavily crumpled, and he opens it up and begins reading it, and then tilts his head a little bit to the side and says, "Good news, sir. We have more reason for you to actually make your way up," as he jumps down off of the ledge, landing on the ground in a thud, shaking everything around him, knocking a few things off of the workbench, and thrusts this piece of paper immediately in front of Dev's face. He sees...
I could have swore we never gave out our mailing address.
I am fairly certain, sir, that given your extensive knowledge of such things, you could work out any number of magical things that could be done to make such a construct work.
Fair enough. And then he begins to read the letter with very much intent. It's like this close away from his face, and he's kind of like, and he gives it a couple once-overs.
As Dev is taking that time to read it, he hears Audacio say, "I wonder, sir, if this might have something to do with the news that I overheard in the streets when I was collecting your materials the other day. Apparently, somewhere, there was an attack. Not too recently, a monastery of some kind, by apparently some nefarious individuals from the south. Whatever that means."
Why would a cardinal direction attack a monastery?
I did say people from...
Oh,
yes.
Right.
My memory banks indicate I did say people from the south, sir.
You're correct. My mistake. Geniuses make them every once in a while, right?
Let us hope that the genius that made me did not make a mistake.
Fair enough, but why would anyone want to attack a monastery? I don't see any material value to it.
Well, as I am a construct, sir, and have no consciousness of what living creatures such as yourself tend to do with their occupancy in their short-lived lives, I cannot say for certain why such things would take place.
What monastery was it?
Checking. The iridescent flower.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Checking. Ah, that is where your friend Aurora has been living for the past number of years.
Well, is she okay? That raises a lot of questions. Perhaps in our jaunt tonight we should post haste towards the monastery? Or actually, wait, hold on. Never mind. Not the monastery. Somewhere else. I must check
detailed in the letter is directions to an establishment that Aurora would like you to meet her at, and there is a date a couple of days hence, so you can easily make it to it in time.
Right. Have we prepared your back compartment?
I do believe it is always prepared, sir.
Good. I will be riding shotgun.
Wonderful, sir. Shall I make you a sandwich?
Yes, sustenance would be appropriate.
Wonderful. I shall commence doing so right away.
Thank you.
And then we cut away from this glorious scene of a halfling and his metallic friend transferring ourselves, still the same night, as it were, to a different part of the city. Perhaps a little bit more illustrious part of the city. Not run down in any way, not the kind of place people wouldn't want to be. In fact, it's quite the opposite. A place many people would love to be, as we find ourselves traveling into a brothel. A wonderfully decorated place of raucous cheering and excitement as dancers up upon the stage are regaling the clientele of the evening with all manner of song and entertainment. People walking about the place having wonderful drink and a small amount of food, just enough to keep themselves going. And drifting our way up the stairs through this glorious establishment, well built, well accommodated, with wonderful people from every stripe and sexual orientation that they might find. We make our way into an office at the very top of the stairs. This office, equally well decorated, if in fact not even perhaps even more so well decorated, we find ourselves confronted with two individuals, two genasi, one a rather portly fire genasi, as it were, which is strange in and of itself, as fire genasi tend to be rail thin. This one has somehow managed to find himself perhaps getting a little bit older in years, and maybe once was a fit and wonderful physical specimen, but now perhaps is in his waning years let himself go a little bit. Sitting there in a fine, resplendent suit, a glass, a very illustrious glass in one hand, glowing a little bit with the small magical ice cubes that never seem to melt, and a wonderfully aromatic brown liquid kind of just swirling within the glass as he sniffs it and takes a sip. The other individual sitting across from him, an Earth Genasi, Dave. Would you like to describe Loris for us?
Yes, Loris is a hulking Earth Genasi with this pale gray, cracked earth-like skin, bald on his head, a beard that has what could be best described as sparkles of crystal. His eyes glowing with this sort of yellow glow, and he wears this half plate that is fairly nondescript, but has these elements of geologic features etched into it just ever so subtly. Also, at the chest piece, there is a rock that's set elegantly in the plate itself. And he, as I mentioned, is quite large. And as he sits in this chair, he almost spills over the chair. He has his shoulder, his elbow up on a weapon that he carries with him, a gigantic maul, as he sits staring at the man across from him.
As he sits staring at this man who he lovingly refers to as boss all of the time, his employer for perhaps the past 4 years or so developed a very good relationship, the two of you have, and your boss has, particularly in recent years, as you have managed to save his life on more than one occasion, has taken a liking to you, Loris, as he sits there and takes a sip from his drink. And he says, so, what is it that you think we should do about these encroachers that have seemingly managed to worm their way into some of our business? The drug trade is going to be awful for the next at least 6 months.
Well, if these worms are allowed to fester, they could become a problem. I could look into it for you, squash a few for you, underheal.
He holds up a finger at you, still holding on to the glass, and says, no. You do not need to worry yourself about doing that kind of work. You've been working too hard, in fact. No, I've got other people to ferret out these strange individuals. Supposedly, there's a connection somewhere to the south, but I don't know yet. We're still trying to sort out our business arrangements to the south and to the other lands, and we'll figure it out. No need to worry. You've been working too hard, in fact.
Well,
What is it that you even do with yourself when you're not protecting my back?
You pay me to work. You pay me to protect. I work and I protect. I do not know much of this downtime you speak of. I would very much be willing to seek answers to the south. Boss, you know me. I like to stay busy. It takes my mind off of other things that I'd rather forget.
Look, Loris, we all have our history. I've got my fair share of it. Not that I'm going to tell you any of it. I don't expect you to tell me yours. I know most of it, I think. But regardless of that, you can't run from things forever. Surely you have to take a few moments to yourself every now and then.
Those times when I have taken moments have troubled me greatly. You see, I need to keep myself ruminating, thinking, planning, strategizing on something. Well, if I don't, I tend to get into trouble.
Well, I certainly don't want my best body man getting himself into trouble. But I also don't want my best body man to get burnt out. And if there's one thing I know about, it's getting burnt out. As a little bit of smoldering smoke starts rising up from the back of his neck. And you are putting yourself in glorious danger of such things. You haven't had a break in years, at least not since I've known you.
I've had no break.
I think it's about time for you to take a break, and that does not involve breaking someone's skull, or breaking someone's ankle, or taking your hammer to someone's fingers. We're not going to do that on this break. No. I'm going to give you some coin, and you, sir, are going on a vacation.
A vacation. Look at me, boss.
Yes, indeed.
I am built for punishment and crushing. I am not built for cocktails, music. That is not for me.
Who said anything about cocktails and music? Go up into the mountains. Take yourself some time in some of the salt baths. Find yourself a place to relax. Get a massage.
A massage.
Yes.
I could try this, but you know, when you met me, many years now, I was idle, and that is why I found myself in the predicament that I did. Give me something to do more than salt bath and massage.
All right. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take 2 weeks, and only 2 weeks. If it's a day longer, I'm sending someone after you, and you won't like the outcome, or they may not like the outcome, depending upon how that fight goes. But regardless, you have 2 weeks. You will leave, and you will come back at my side within that 2 weeks, and you will come back to me fully rested, fully recuperated, and in a better mental state. How about that? That is your orders, and I don't care how you do it, but that's what you're going to do.
You are a sly one, boss, but you know what's best. I will take vacation, but
Good.
there is no promise that I will not crush something during that time. Just saying.
As long as it's a chair and you can pay for the chair to be fixed, I have no problems with you crushing something.
Perhaps that coin you give me, double it. We may have to pay for many broken things.
Fair enough. But you're going to come back to me in a better state, are you not?
I imagine if I take massage, salt bath, and crush something, I will feel much better, yes.
Good. Now get the hell out of my office and go on vacation.
Very good, boss. He gets up, standing
As
there.
As Loris gets up and starts making his way over, he hears the familiar sound of more liquor being poured into his boss's drink. And he pretty much knows at this point, his boss being a couple of drinks in, that there probably isn't going to be much opportunity to converse with him very, very soon thereafter.
He'll, without even looking back, knowing what he knows of his boss, he'll just walk out the door.
As he gets out the door, I'm curious, for Loris, even if he's been giving these orders and without knowing what to do, what kind of thoughts are going through his mind as he has been ordered to go on vacation?
Well, I imagine he walks out the door and starts to descend sort of the stairway that wraps around into the brothel area below, and he looks tough and he looks solid as stone, just this, the stoic look on his face, but in his mind he is 100% terrified, trying to figure out what he's going to do to keep himself out of trouble, running through ideas in his head, but it all comes back to crushing things. And he'll think about a massage, and then he'll think about crushing rocks, and he'll think about salt bath, and he'll think about punching his fist through something. He just can't, it's almost like he can't help himself. He's been conditioned almost to never let his guard down with anyone or at any time. Maybe there's been one that he's let his guard down with, perhaps.
As he is making his way down the stairs with this tumult of chaos going on in his mind, and his physicality, always at the ready for something, he immediately sees some movement out of the corner of his eye, and jerks his mace out from its hilt in one smooth motion to intercept what he thinks is a dagger or something getting thrown at him, or maybe a crossbow bolt getting shot from across the room. And as he brings his hammer out to the side to block whatever this assault is that's coming out of his peripheral vision, a small origami bird, red in color, looking very much like a small cardinal, sits and plops itself right down on the edge of his mace.
What is this trickery? He looks at it.
It like bounces on the end of his maul for a few moments, and then seems to be like looking about the space, fixates its eyes, doesn't really have eyes, but fixates its gaze upon Loris for a second, and then quickly unfolds itself and then becomes a flat folded up piece of parchment laying on the top of his maul.
He reaches out and grabs it. What is this?
As he scoops, very much like the previous two individuals that we have seen the scene so far, he sees a letter from Aurora demanding help, that things are dire for them and they need his strength.
He gets a huge smile on his face and says, "Always can count on you to give me purpose." And he tucks the letter into his, the little pouch that he has at his belt. Continues
Wonderful.
on.
Great. We will then cut away from Loris and cut away from the city entirely, going many, many, many miles away from the capital, Kuvalia, up into the mountains, up into the Elemental Falls, one of the simultaneously wild and tame places still left from the old world of Kuvalia, a place of reverence where all of the elemental energies have coalesced to form this grand waterfall cascading down from a high mountain into this glorious, pristine lake that, for whatever reason, is so still and perfectly calm. A small mist rising up from it as the warm waters, warmed by the elemental fires beneath it, mix with the cool air of the high mountainside, forming this layer of steam around the lake. We see at the center of it a small shrine. Joey, if you could describe for us this shrine that we see at the center of the Elemental Falls.
Yes, I can. So it's more of a natural occurring body in this water. You see in the shallow portion of the lake huge chunks of gemstone mined from surrounding mountains of blues, greens, purples, beautiful iridescent colors. They've been dragged into the shallow portion of the lake to create sort of stepping stone, about 9 to 10, that lead to a small naturally occurring island near the middle of the lake. It is not too big, probably fits comfortably about 10 to 15 people. And it's pretty beautiful. It has some greenery, a small glowing pink tree. But looking overhead, you see it's actually quite horrifying because the island is on the edge of a precipice. Looking over the lake, you see that while the ring around it may be shallow, it descends into a huge dark chasm. Limitless, you cannot see the bottom, but this island that people go to worship is on the very edge of it.
Wonderful. And as the various elemental lights of the place, seemingly gemstones that just glow with a natural luminescence about the entire place, the waterfalls just off to the north, providing this gentle mist coalescing with the mist of the lake itself. The entire atmosphere screams serenity at its center, despite the sheer chaos of everything going on the very far outskirts. For surely it's not easy to get to this place. Being so high up in the mountains, it's a trek. It takes days upon days to make their way up here. Anyone that would want to come and worship. But there is one person still present at this small shrine. A young man, human man, actually, not Genasi. A descendant of someone else that came to Cavalia a couple of generations past looking for a new life, that has managed to find that new life in a small village not too far distant from the shrine itself. A simple place, a place of commonality that is often welcome against the civilization that the rest of Cavalia has. When you're looking to get away from things, when your life is just too much for you to handle, you should look at places like this, because this is where you can just live and be okay with just living. This human man, by the name of Dauntless, stands more or less still at the edges of the shrine, not stepping up, being very careful, cleaning up a small amount of the remnants of food that the various people that had just come to pray at the shrine had taken for themselves in their moment of respite, as they sought prayer and solace from the goddess ascendant that occupies this space, that they all know is omnipresent and always looking out for them. As they questioned each other and had their moments of calm, sharing food with one another in peaceful serenity, they've all left, leaving this one young man behind to clean up a little bit of tidbits remaining, as well as gather up the offerings that were made up to the goddess, that being the best foods that any of them could cook. Some perhaps better than others, but ranging the gamut of things that one might find lovely to eat, particularly if you're into that home-style grandmotherly type of cooking. He gathers up all of these things, carefully placing them towards the center of the shrine, and sits back himself, pulling out just a few small pieces of twice-baked bread to eat for himself. Just very, very small amounts of sustenance for himself, while he waits patiently, desperately hoping for the goddess to make an appearance.
He waits about 5 minutes, about 10 minutes, about 15 minutes. He feels maybe it's too late, maybe she's done for the day. He stands to leave, and as he stands, he hears nothing, feels nothing. It is again still pure silence. But he watches as a typhoon, almost a whirling column of water, still completely silent, rushes upward from the middle of the lake, slowly, so slowly, like gloriously. He sees colors catch the light, and it takes a moment, but then he sees her within it. He sees a woman, beautiful, who appears to have been drowned and dragged to the bottom of the ocean. She has long dark hair down to her waist that fans out all around her. She wears a long white dress, once pristine, now coated in stains of blood, dried and new seaweed, oysters, seashells, adorn it now in an ugly crustacean mural. And her face, it has that kind of eeriness of a person with darker skin who is ashen and gray. It is bloated, torn at different parts. This is a beautiful yet haunting corpse. And as he stares up at her in awe, he hears finally noises in his ear, a deep, shallow voice saying, "Hello, mortal. You have come to the still lake, the cavernous trench, the resting place of all that sinks below the surface. What do you seek from Oceana, goddess ascendant of the deep waters? Is it fortune, retribution, a glimpse into what soon shall be? And what do you offer your goddess in return?
At the emergence of Oceana in this state, the young human man just collapses to his knees in awe of her presence, and shakes for several moments before stealing up the courage, knowing that Oceana likes people to ask things, and he looks up, almost hopeful in his eyes, hopefulness in his eyes, and says, I have so many questions for the goddess. I offer what I can. And he goes to his pouch and pulls out a rolled up piece of terry cloth and gently pulls it aside. And you see amongst it an arrangement of fairly large iridescent colored greens and reds and blues berries that appear to have been frozen, although now at this point they are mostly thawed. And he holds them out and says, I collected these for you from the highest peaks. And as he extends it out, she can see the telltale signs of frostbite on his fingertips. And getting a closer look at him, she can see some of the patches on his skin where he obviously suffered tremendously, making his way up into, mountainsides thousands upon thousands of feet up into the sky, where it's difficult to even breathe, to collect these extremely rare fruits for him. Oh no, we lost Adrian. As he holds out this arrangement for Oceana and just bows his head, seemingly desperately hoping for her to accept his gift.
He does not hear anything, but he feels as a tentacle of water breaches from the still lake. It goes over his hands, and he feels the berries and gemstones taken from it and moving away. He also feels as the water continues to go over him, washing his skin, healing it where he can. And although he does not feel actual health regain in him, he feels warmer. He feels better. He feels as though whatever he does next, he will have her blessing to do so. The items go back into the water, and her voice goes through his head again, and she says, beauties of the natural world. It is easy for those in power to bring me gold, gems, and the like. I appreciate them fondly. But you, who have traveled far and suffered in order to speak with your goddess ascendant, I see you for the strength you are, and I welcome any questions you have for me now.
The wave of relief that washes over him, not just from the magic that she graced him with, but also the voice in which she speaks. It just cascades through him, and his expression changes from that sense of, unknowing, will she, won't she, all of that chaos going on in his mind, to one of peace as he looks up at her, and with a honest and genuine heartfelt expression that can only tug at the heartstrings of Oceana, he says, people are dying. People are being slaughtered. And is this the goddess's will? Is this the will of the Ascendant, that people should suffer in such ways, fighting against each other?
You see the column of water he rests in moves forward slightly, and another tentacle reaches out, but it takes the shape of a hand, and it grazes his face. And he hears again her voice saying, no, my child, This is not what I desire. I am a goddess ascendant, one among many. You know the pantheon and the forces that exist in this world of both good and evil, and within immortal and immortal. We have seen people who lust for power in ways that you and I do not. This is not my word. This is not my will. This is not your will. And I encourage you to go out and create the world that you wish. What does that world look like for you?
I don't know, goddess. The place where I was supposed to go, where I was supposed to learn, where I was supposed to understand the world, the place that was willing to accept me, even though I am not born of the Kuvalian land. The monastery, it has been nearly destroyed. The people there, so many of them dead, the knowledge that was there lost. They're no longer accepting. They've locked their doors away and no one can come anymore. And I don't know where that leaves me.
Her hand still on him, she asks, do you live? Do you find joy every day? Do you see in others the beauty of life?
I want to. I desperately want to, but after an atrocity such as this, how can we? How can we not be afraid of our neighbor? How can we not be afraid that something is going to happen to us? And like she sees tears forming at the edges of his eyes as he seems genuinely heartbroken and having this crisis of life.
She moves even closer and leans forward. Again, her visage is horrifying, yet in this moment, he can see on the bloated, decaying face a sad, not smile, but not grimace, something in between as she takes in his words. It is easy to look at one another and see fear and pain. We inflict thousands of punishments against all around us in the day-to-day because we cannot control one another. But we also experience beauty. Sorry. We also experience beauty. We experience the admiration and devotion it took for you to come to me today and find the beautiful treasures that you did for me. Do you love me?
Yes, yes, of course.
I ask that you take that love and spread it to those around you. There will be more places that will accept you, that will know you and cherish you for the spirit that you are. But the task I give unto you, my mortal child, is to brave the world and the people within it and find those places. I give you my blessing. Do you believe you can do this?
There's a moment of hesitation as he mulls over everything that Oceana told to him. And then he locks eyes with her, and this almost feral confirmation comes into his eyes as he seems to genuinely believe what she has instructed him now. And he says, yes, yes, I can do this thing. I can do what my goddess asks.
Her hand draws away and she smiles and says, what is your name?
I don't know. No, my goddess, this is anew. Would you grace me? Would you give me a name that I would give to others when I speak?
She genuinely laughs at this and says, my child, it would be a true honor for me to grace you with one. But that is not my place. A name chosen is important. It speaks to you. It tells others of the good person that you are. I will grant you, though, a middle name, something that will follow the glorious name you will one day choose. Is that sufficient?
Yes, I would very much like this.
She flourishes her hand slowly, and he sees in the air above her, almost like a constellation, glowing lights take the form of a dragon turtle. Small in image, but he knows huge in glory and reality. She says, I call your name Tortuga. It is a name my people gave to these wondrous creatures who have a hard, rough exterior that hides a joyous, loving interior. I ask that you go forward in this. Do not allow others to criticize you or hurt you in ways you would not do to them, but always foster the light and glow of love within yourself. Can you do this for me?
Yes, yes, I can. Thank you. I will cherish this moment for all of my years to come, and I will spread it like the news of fires in the sky to all those that I meet. And he just like supplicates himself on the ground in front of her.
She reaches forward again and lifts his head. And she says, I do not ask that you bow to me. You do not have to bow to anyone you do not wish to. And he sees in the current that is her watery form, a small starfish comes, long dead, much like herself, but glorious, almost a fossil in its geode appearance. She says, take this and remember to carry your own power. In that when those above you who like to flaunt their abilities attempt to make you do what you've done for me today, act in supplication, remember that a goddess ascendant tells you to be strong in your love for others.
He reaches out and takes the gift and clutches it tight to his chest and nods, and seemingly with a vacating of all of that angst and fear that he had upon what he came here today to ask, that all gone. He has replaced it with a stalwart, a resoluteness about his purpose now, and he just smiles and bows his head to her, and wordlessly turns and starts walking away.
I watch him go the entire way back through, as you said, it's very, very up in mountains. I watch him for about 10 minutes afterward, make sure that he's not coming back. And then I sigh, I let the column of water fall. And as I hit the water and begin to fall deep, deep down to the chasm, Oceana's appearance changes. She drops the disguise self spell that she had on her that entire time, and you see a different person. You see dark, rich skin. You see, she's gorgeous, y'all get ready. You see dark, rich skin, bright, almost orange hazel eyes, long, dark hair, not as long as her goddess form was, but still long, with deep blue highlights. You see, she's wearing a rather plain adornment. It's kind of like a romper, but a pantsuit romper. So it's a sleeveless white tunic, a golden cord wrapped around the waist that goes into a pair of flowy white caftan pants with gold accents all along all of it. She is wearing a basic cloak of cotton, looks very simple. She's wearing two golden bracers for show, and she has swirling animated golden tattoos of almost root work and ocean currents going all up and down her arms. She is dressed simply yet beautifully. She sinks lower and lower, 30, 60, 90, till she's about 300 feet below. And as she does, natural light begins to appear, both in bioluminescent small fish that go throughout the caverns and phosphorescent stone. she goes further down, and the cavern is not populated, but you see it branches off into dozens of different tunnels filled with different kinds of life. She is carrying in one hand a bag of all the, she likes to call them donations slash offerings that she received today. And she swims finally over to a large cove in the wall that has a very soaked through bedroll, a few dressers, a few pieces of waterlogged furniture that she calls her home. You see right next to it, mounted onto the wall, is a gigantic turtle shell. She goes to the bedroll, lays down on it, and just closes her eyes and says, "Oh, what a day, okay," and just rests there.
As she is resting, immediately thrust out of her moment of pause and looking for rest with the sound of a strange swirling of the water around her. As she opens her eyes and looks up, she sees a origami fish swimming in the water above her. Obviously magical in nature, as it's made of paper and shouldn't even be here. But this fish, koi, just keeps swirling in the water, just like a foot above her head.
She looks at it and says, "Are you a new breed? What is it? Are you alive? Like, what is this?"
As she says that, the origami fish just starts to reshape itself in the water above her, just creating this like cascade of bubbles and swirling around until it goes immediately calm, and just a single flat sheet of paper floats in the water with writing upon the paper itself, glowing ever so softly from the magic that was used to create it.
That, I don't know if you're alive, but that was a lot, and I hope you know that. Okay. What does it say?
It is a letter from Aurora, not asking, demanding help. They are in extreme danger and need all the help that they can get.
Does it mention anything like special, like any reason why I'd have to go?
It's just demanding help. Their life, the life of many, is in danger.
Fuck me. Okay. Okay. I guess I do owe her. Okay. Jesus Christ. Do gods have like an out of office notification? Okay. Hey, Tibby. Hey, buddy, where you at? And through the water near her little cove, you see it almost looks like an ocean current. It's just flashes of blue going throughout the water, and within a few seconds, you see miniature blink shark appear in front of her. She looks at it, and she's, "Hey, buddy." And by the way, it comes up, it's very much like a pet dog. Like it comes up, it sidles up to her, it's rubbing up on her, just like very much. You see, she like reaches next to her bed, grabs like a small piece of beef jerky and gives it to him. He chomps it. She's, "Okay, this one weird person from my past seems to know where I am, and that's totally fine. We might have to beef up security. They want something of me, and I feel like if I don't answer this now, they might contact me again, which would be even worse. So I'm gonna be gone for a few days. If anyone comes by, jump at them, make them a little scared. You know, the little routine. The goddess is angry. She's off doing her own thing. Okay, you got that, buddy?"
the elemental shark just kind of swirls around you happily.
You see, I reach down in my bed and pull like 5 thick, like it's like salmon to like slabs of beef, like pork, all like a bunch of protein. I say, "Okay, this will keep you fed for a few days. If you go hunting with the other blink shark, I worked really hard to commission that scale armor for you, and so I ask you wear it, because last time I came back, you had a gigantic bruise, and I don't know how you got that because you're a fucking blink shark, but please don't get one again."
Just like changes color to this like almost purplish and just like skirts away a little bit.
"Okay, love you, buddy." I as I'm like talking to him, I'm like grabbing stuff here and there for what I need, like getting a pack together. I go next to my cove and I go to the huge turtle shell and I knock on it. And as I do, it echoes. You see along one side of the turtle shell, a head about the size of my torso peeks out, and a dragon turtle, a wormling dragon turtle, so smaller than most, still huge, looks down on me with a sleepy face. And I say, Tortudo, you are the best roommate I could have ever asked for. I am so happy. Yeah, I know I don't usually wake you up for anything, buddy. This is important. Look, I am so happy that I found your message on the fantasy roommate board and that you accepted me after all those things you made me do. I know that you had to get over me not being vegan, and I appreciate that. I have to go away for a few days. I would really appreciate yeah, I know. Yeah, I know I haven't left in like what, like oof, 5, 6 years. Yeah, I know. It's okay, you know, y'all are my friends, and that's fine, and I don't need anyone else. Who needs people? Anyway, best roommate ever. I'm leaving you in charge. I love you. I know you could eat me. If I find out that you asked Tibby to blink out of the water to try and get you some fresh leads again, I will literally make you into soup. Okay? Okay, great. I left you literally an entire tree in my cove. So if you need food, there's no reason for you not to eat that. And yeah, dude, I'm doing some weird shit. Wish me luck, okay? It's giant turtle Paul comes up and gives me a thumbs up. I say,
And just like starts slinking away under the turtle shell.
okay. I like sleep too, buddy, but some of us have jobs, okay? You try being a fucking goddess for a village, okay? Tibby, I love you. Tortado, love you. Please don't collapse the cave while I'm gone. And then with my pack, I swim off into a naturally occurring jet, and I let it full Mary Poppins. I let the current carry me up to the surface.
Wonderful. So, as all of you leave your lives behind momentarily at the call of your friend Aurora, you find yourselves all gathering basically simultaneously at a tavern deep in the heart of the Kuvalian cityscape. This one very, very lush and fancy. Not the kind of place you would normally associate with any of your past that you have ever experienced with Aurora. As you make your way up to this place, all of a sudden, each of you at the various times, because you don't arrive exactly simultaneously, but as you are making your way up to this place, a small elemental bird, or fish, as it were, in this case, flying fish, identical to what had come to you and your paper in paper form, intercepts you as you're about to make your way inside, and you just see for the briefest of moments this almost interpretive way of them saying, "Hey, follow me," as they, kind of draw you away. Any of you that are users of magic would recognize that this is just illusion, that it's very easy to create these things. They're not particularly difficult in the slightest, although if you have no experience really with magic, you might find it, glorious to behold. But you are drawn ever so slightly away from this fanciful tavern, next door to a small rented place that just rents out rooms. And as you make your way into this place, in the common room of it, you will find at the various points, because you all probably stagger your arrivals about an hour or so in between, you find Aurora sitting at a table. Injuries healing upon their face, scars, bruises on most of their body, burn marks in several places, which particularly for the rest of you know is extremely difficult to do to an air genasi. And you see her sitting there with a 1,000-yard stare on her face as she watches you come in, as if the world is resting upon her delicate shoulders. And that's where we're going to take our break.
Oh, wow. You guys, this is great. You guys are awesome. So happy.
Indeed.
So well.
Indeed. So we're just going to take a quick 5-minute bio break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks to everyone sticking around and watching through these crazy introductions to these wonderfully colorful characters that everyone has come here to play tonight. We will pick things back up in a few minutes with Aurora explaining why she has called you all together. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are refreshed from that heavy and intense roleplay that everybody got to do just a little bit ago as we find ourselves back in the realm of Kuvalia and these disparate individuals coming together to hopefully help a dear friend of theirs with an extremely difficult problem that they face. They all find themselves setting up inside of a more or less hovel, as it were, a small place that just rents rooms out on the cheap. Not extremely welcoming, and perhaps this is normal for some of you, but it's certainly not the kind of place that that you were expecting after the letters that you all received from your friend Aurora telling to meet you at this glorious tavern right next door. But here you stand. Who do you think amongst the lot of you would arrive first, and who would arrive last?
I think I'd get there last.
I was going to say,
Okay.
let's not stereotype Oceana immediately, but I have a slight
no.
feeling that she might be last.
Oh yeah, I took my time to get here. Yeah, I think I did like some things along the way.
Fair enough. So which of the three of the rest of you think that you would have gotten there first?
I probably wouldn't have shown up first just because of, if I would have, then it probably would have, I would have been outside of Audacio, but like, I'm pretty sure I would not have arrived first.
I think
Laura-
I would be first.
Yeah, and Loras
I
would
think,
probably be closely thereafter because he's nothing else to do.
And I'm pretty well traveled, so I know ways to get
Mhm.
places quickly.
Cool. So given that then, Maris, what do you think Maris's reaction to seeing Aurora, who he hasn't seen in a number of years, but the last time he knew was being whisked off to, this scholarly academy in the Order of Kaio to, become a scholar acolyte amongst the order. How do you think he would react to seeing her beaten and battered as she is, obviously healing and in one piece, but having these telltale signs of seemingly suffered some kind of very, very catastrophic event?
Maris will walk up, slowly assessing the situation. First, he thought he was entering a tavern, but of course, moving to the place next door, slowly kind of as he walks up, realizing that the person that he sees before him is kind of like de-aging. He's remembering his childhood of how they looked when we were young, and realized that on how the terms that we last saw each other, that they must be in very dire straits to send for my help. I try not to let their appearance phase my facial expression, kind of like very stoic looking, just very like not letting it outwardly show, and just focusing on the past, and slowly step closer and closer, letting the clangs of my boots echo in this room till I literally standing right over them. And as I slowly look down, I will flash a grin. Aurora.
So
It's been a long time.
as you walk up, Aurora has no reaction. And at first, there's a moment of like concern because surely everyone and their mother can hear you walking up to her at the moment. And as you say those words, her head just snaps up and looks at you startled, which startles you a little bit because Aurora is a very, very perceptive individual as far as you know, and could see things coming before even you could most of the time. So the fact that she was surprised by your appearance next to her takes you aback a little bit, and she immediately just stands up and thrusts herself forward towards you, wrapping you up into a hug, and you feel this like tension in her body as you feel her pressing onto you, that just seems after a moment to wash away and into you, seemingly relieved that you are there.
Give a moment of just friendly tenderness, and we'll whisper softly, "Are you all right? Are you in danger? Are you in danger right now?" As I kind of look through my peripherals to see, still assessing the situation. Obviously, they seem to be in another place, and I want to focus on what's happening right now. So,
as you look around, you see an extremely large, imposing figure step into the doorway of this establishment from behind you, cloaked mostly in shadow because it's nighttime when you're arriving, and you can immediately, your danger sense immediately kicks up, that this individual that is stepping into the room is someone to be wary of. And
as soon as danger sense goes off, rapiers even out, like, "You there, stop now." And I have the sword out and I give it a little flare.
As you give it that flare, and Aurora is standing just off to the side, you hear her say, "No, no, no, Maris, don't," and she like grabs your arm and pulls your arm down, lowering your rapier, as Loris steps into the room, and Loris saw the embrace there for a moment, and he sees Aurora, injured as she is, wince a little bit from the quick reaction of having to jump out and lower this obvious friend of hers rapier that was drawn towards you. Not the first time a blade has been drawn on you, just from seeing you, of course, but how do you think Loris reacts to this?
Loris sees his friend from long ago and this other individual wielding a sword. He's pretty astute in terms of how people interact with each other, even though he's very stoic. He studies emotion a bit in others because he can oftentimes use it to his advantage. But "What's this then, Aurora?" And his eyes do not leave Maris at all while he awaits an answer. He doesn't go for his weapon or anything like that, but he's just this kind of hulking presence, and he just stares you down.
You know this person? As I'm bringing Aurora behind me, I'm like trying to get behind me.
As you do that, Aurora, with a grace that you don't remember she had before, moves under your arm and kind of moves you to the side, kind of using your own arm swinging action against you, and like almost knocks you off of your feet as you stumble backwards, not expecting her to do that, but she grabs and holds on to you, keeping you from falling. That trained sense of movement, Maris immediately recognizes that she's not just the simple scholarly monk that the order was apparently taking her in for. He recognizes the feat of a fighter in that movement, and she looks up at him and she says, "Maris, no. He is a friend. He's here to help. Loris, this is Maris. You are both my friends, and I thank you for coming." And you hear the kind of waver in her voice for a moment as she looks back and forth between the two of you. "I know this situation is difficult, and I have not explained it very well, and I will explain things once everyone else gets here as well. But please, I need you to trust me right now. Please trust me."
Part in the sword play, I was only trying to be protective of a friend. Sheath the sword. Take a hand out. Maris, and I stick out my hand for a shake.
I take your hand, he says, as he reaches out and takes your hand and shakes it. You are hurt, Aurora.
I'm fine. I'm on the mend. It's been a difficult couple of weeks. Please sit down. I've got some drink. It was tea, right, Loris?
Yes.
I've got some tea for you. And Maris, I can never remember what you drink. You seem to drink a different drink every time we ever went into a different place. So I hope you have some of your own whiskey for once.
It's fine. I brought my own. Pour a little bit into the tea.
Please sit down. We're still waiting for a couple more people. And you guys can see the tension in her, somewhat lessened at the presence of her two friends, but she's definitely on edge.
Loris takes a chair and pulls it to the edge, the corner of the room, turns it around and sits on it and just stares at the door.
The room is not very big, so even drifting that into the corner of the room, you're only a few feet away from the table that she was sitting at before. So
you are expecting others then, Aurora?
Yeah, Dev, he's an interesting little man that I met a few years back. I helped him in a kind of weird situation that he was in, where some people thought he was a lost child. Anyway, it's just trust me. He's good people. And Maris, you remember Oceana from way back?
My eyes will like widen for a second and then have a very like demure look, like, who?
Oceana. She was water like you, and you remember her. Come on.
That sounds familiar. I think I'll have to see her to remember who she was.
I am certain you will remember her when you see her. Anyway, I haven't been able to keep tabs on, frankly, either of you, and only loosely able to, know that Loris at least, hadn't found himself at the end of a blade, or probably did. Anyway, I've invited a couple of other people to hopefully come and help. I haven't heard back. I'm just kind of hoping that everyone gets here. And around that time, you guys all hear, much well before you see it enter the room, this thudding footsteps of metal clanking on stone, and a figure, shadowy etched figure with slightly green glowing portions on his shoulders and body drifts past the window heading towards the door.
Kind of give Loris a look like, are you ready? This has to go throw down. Just have my hand on like my pommel, just like.
And then, hey Dave, could you actually switch us over to the artwork?
Absolutely.
Go ahead and do the full spectrum. And stepping into the room, you guys see Audacio, as was previously described, the large hulking metal machine man. I think as tall as Loris. They're roughly the same size silhouette, although it's possible that Audacio might be slightly bulkier, but only because he has like random bits that kind of jut out that make him definitively not look human or entirely human at a distance. And Audacio kind of steps into the room, and you hear just this strange metallic voice. Good evening. We are looking for Aurora. Ah, there she is. And he just like casually, saunters into the room, body kind of swaying a little bit with each of his heavy footfalls as he walks up to the table, seemingly not caring in the slightest Loris Maris's presence.
You hear a slight like clink from inside Audacio, and a small voice kind of whisper, "Are we here?"
Yes, sir. We are here. Shall I open?
Turn to face them.
Ah, yes. And he like adjusts, steps back just ever so slightly so that all of you can see his chest clearly.
And then from his like chest plate, there's a little small porthole that kind of opens up, and you see like a little face staring from inside the porthole out at everyone. And Dev is like, "Oh, it's Aurora. My God, what happened to you? And, who are these people?"
It's okay, Dev. It's okay. They're good people. I trust them. If you trust me, you should trust them.
He like slowly slides the porthole down a little bit to kind of just be peering out. And he's like, "Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Dev. It's a pleasure."
And I am Audacio. It is a pleasure to meet you. What are your names? As he's just looking down, and he doesn't have a mouth, right? The noise is just kind of emanating from him, but he gestures and cocks his head to the side. That if he was normal and had a mouth, you could imagine him smiling.
I reach out my hand to Dev and be like, "Hello, my name is Maris. Is that?" And I just point at the large. Is that magic? Like, what is that?
Shall I shake his hand, sir?
Yes, go ahead. That's fine.
Audacio reaches his arm out, and you hear him say, calculating the appropriate pressure. Grip, shake, up and down. Do not squeeze too tightly. There you are.
You've seemed to improve your calculations for appropriate handshakes. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, sir. It's very difficult as we do not meet people very often.
Fair enough. Yes, to answer your question, this is magic, in a sense. And Audacio is as much a part of me as one might hold dear to their... What do people hold dear nowadays? Weapons?
Money.
Money? Sure. We'll go with that.
You are
Aurora, you're gonna have to tell me
friends, then?
sometime how you met all these wonderful people. Go back to sit down.
Go ahead, Dave.
Loris just kind of stands up and looks at Aurora, looks back at Dev. You are friends, then?
Yes, we are. As I said, he's good people. And as I said to him, if you trust me, you can trust him.
Hello, little friend and big friend. He kind of steps over and reaches out to shake the construct's hand.
Audacio kind of waits for a moment, says, new calculations. And then reaches out and grips his hand, and it's a fairly tight grip. Not that at first Loris might think, it's the I'm trying to dominate you and show you how strong I am sort of grip, but then it immediately lessens, and he says, "You have a very good grip, sir. Thank you for teaching me the proper grip."
You are very complimentary. I believe we will get along fine. And you, sir?
Of this, I am quite certain.
He kind of nods at Dev.
You just see like this much of Dev's face.
Yep, pretty much.
Unfortunate, Aurora speaks up. Unfortunately, they don't have chairs for him. At least not that can support him. And Audacio kind of says, "That is okay. I do not need a chair." And he just kind of sits as if he was sitting on a chair, bending at the knees and the hips, and just like sits there in the space beside the table and places his hands up on the edge of the table. Like, this is pleasant to sit.
The best core muscles ever.
It's those new pistons I installed.
And so you guys end up sitting there for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. Aurora kind of dodging any questions about things, saying that they really need to wait until Oceana gets there. Probably an idle comment from Maris whenever Oceana is brought up before. What is Oceana wearing as they make their way inside this establishment, being brought in by a floating magic illusory koi fish?
You see as they enter, they're wearing the exact same clothes I described before, only now they're dry. But even though they are dry, you see that her hair seems to move in slow motion. So as they walk in, the hair on their head floats behind them a little bit like it's water. And you see as she walks in, she's kind of like snatching at the fish, like, what the? But you know there's a sending spell. What would you do? And then as I step in, the fish dissipates. I look at the table, and I just look at Aurora, and I'm brought back to the last time I saw them when I was much younger and a much different person. And I kind of just stand there, ignoring everyone else, and just like do the awkward thing of like when you're around someone who you once were a friend with but don't really know where you stand anymore, where like I like my hands are kind of rigid. I'm like kind of going for like kind of for a hug, but also like 20 feet away and just staring at Aurora, just waiting, just like not knowing what to do. Like for once in a long time, I feel kind of like, what do I do right now?
Aurora, as you make your way in, sighs a breath of relief now that all of her friends are here, and gets up from the table in a much more smooth and fluid motion than you remembered, or that any of you perhaps remembered, as like she wasn't always the most dexterous of individuals, right? She might even be called, perhaps she was klutzy in her teenage years, but all of that is gone now as she moves with a fluid grace, wearing robes, mind you, that are the red, blue, and white, red, azure, and white of the Order of Kaio. Just walks straight up to Oceana and reaches out to embrace her in a hug.
As she does, you see my arms kind of like go out and rigid for a second, like holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And then slowly I like bring my arms in and give her a very tentative hug. And I push back a little bit and look at them, and I see the bruises on their face. And forgetting the speech I definitely had prepared before walking in here about, hey, this isn't cool, you get one of these, all that. I just like lightly touch a hand on her face and say, who did this to you?
We could talk about that now. Come on. And she just takes Oceana's hand and brings her back over to the table. Oceana.
I look at all of you three, and I look at all of you with completely cool stare, fully back to myself, bored by everything all of you present. And when I see Maris, my gaze lingers like maybe half a second longer, but no recognition goes over my face.
So as Aurora brings you over to the table and asks you to sit, she goes back to where she had been sitting and sits down herself, and she looks at each of you and she says, okay, I owe you an explanation, and I'm really sorry that I had to send those messages in that way. I wish that I didn't, but I did.
You know, sending spells do exist. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Well, I don't know how to do a sending spell, and I can only steal so many of the pieces of parchment to go to you, okay?
Stole something?
Yes, I stole. God.
Oh my gosh, look at you. I try to get you to steal stuff all the time, you never did.
Well, dire situations, okay? Dire situations. Look, how many of you know what happened a few weeks ago to my monastery, the iridescent flower? And she like chokes up a little bit as she's mentioning this.
A little hand comes through the porthole and does this.
No idea.
Okay. We were attacked. The people that attacked us, they burnt half the place to the ground. Hundreds, centuries, maybe even thousands of years worth of knowledge in scrolls and books and magical recordings and crystals of memory lost in a night. Lots of us tried to defend it. Several of my brethren died defending it. But we couldn't. I couldn't defend it. The people that came, they came in the darkness of night. They came with powerful magic. They came with machines that could throw lightning in such ways that even a master wizard wouldn't be able to throw as effectively. They assaulted this place of knowledge, and I need to know why. And my council won't do anything about it. I stood in front of the council. Half of them didn't even bother to show up. And I pled to them to not let the other members that I fought beside die in vain. That we need to be doing more than we are. And of course, I got the usual: to know my place, to know that other people were doing what needed to be done, and that I should just go back and start rebuilding. And I can't rebuild right now. I need to know what happened. And as you guys are sitting there watching this obviously stressful emotion come across your friend, who has always been, as far as any of you know, a lighthearted, happy, very, very willing to help individual, seemingly under such dire stress, she reaches a hand into just the inside of her robes, and she pulls out this small metal ring. And wrapped around this ring, you see it's about 3 inches in diameter, and wrapped around the edges of this ring are coils of copper and silver and gold, and dangled in between these bits of metal coiling, you see threads of what appears to be some kind of arcane energy, occasional sparks of electricity like ripple off of and out of the edges of this ring, and you see this piece of almost like stone kind of floating in the center of these arcane ribbons of energy, and there is a small glowing magical rune at its center. Dev, can you look at this for me? Can you tell me what this is? Because this was on one of those people that attacked us.
You hear like 2 raps knock on Audacio, and then the back part of him opens up kind of with a and like he steps down, like a little like staircase comes down, and he kind of like steps down and hops out. Now you can see him in his full view as he rushes over to the table to get the item from Aurora, and he studies it, and he goes,
This is definitely new. It might take some time, but I should be able to.
Tell me anything that you can. Go ahead and roll an Arcana check for me, or Tinker's Tools, either one.
I'll just do Arcana.
Okay. You're proficient in Tinker's Tools too, so actually go ahead and roll with advantage.
Okay.
I lean over to Maris and I say, "You just saw a small person jump out of that robot, right?"
Was that a small child? I do not.
Okay, I thought it was a small, gross child. Okay, good. We're on the same page.
I got a 21 on an Arcana check.
Wonderful. So indeed, this is a new piece of artifice, nothing like anything that Dev has ever seen before. However, at its core, he does recognize a few qualities about it as being something that he has surmised would be something that you would use as a kind of dowsing rod for anything that you wanted to find. With enough tinkering and enough, artificing, you could inscribe into the small stone a rune that magically describes a specific object that you need to find. And he doesn't know exactly what this rune is attuned to at the moment, knows that it's active, and he recognizes it as a compass that's basically pointing east and ever so slightly north from here.
So I convey this to the group as much as my knowledge has been given, and say along with that, it seems the people of the south have perhaps taken something to northeast.
As you say that, Aurora slams both of her hands on the table and almost shouts, "I knew it! I knew they were still here."
Where here?
Well, you said northeast, right?
Oh, right, the northeast, yes. I thought you meant here.
No, that means that whatever they took is still here. So why would people coming from the south to attack my monastery, which is a place of learning, take something and bring it further into Kuvalia?
I see that the way of the order has rubbed off on you, Aurora. Blaming wrong group of people for a major conflict. Very much like them.
I'm not blaming anybody. People from the south came and attacked me and my brothers. That is undisputed. They were not Kuvalian.
Who were
The bodies
these
of
people?
those. The only information that I've been able to get out of anybody that has been doing the actual investigations says that they are from Intreska to the south. That they are Intrescan, that they carry things on them that were of Intrescan make. And definitively, a couple of them were not anyone that is of Kuvalia. One of them, I don't know if any of you have ever met one of them was a dragonborn. The only dragonborn that I've ever met in Kuvalia was once in the actual city. Gloriously golden scales. And he was great individual, don't get me wrong, but he definitely wasn't from Kuvalia. Nobody knows where dragonborn come from. Anyway, look, these people came, and from what the news is, from what people are being told, they came and they left. Well, if they came looking for something and they found that something and they took it, which we know they took some things because not everything that has been destroyed has been accounted for. There are things that are missing. If they took it and they went further in, I'm going after them.
Do you know what you're even looking for? Is there any kind of secret knowledge that they may have been hiding? We know they took something, but the monastery obviously knows its own secrets. So what would the monastery have that's worth such attention for a brazen attack against it? I mean, it must be protecting something of vital importance, so much that in political rings, they're willing to avoid more controversy. I think there might be something you're not telling us.
The only answer I have to that is the place that I was stationed to be at when the attack took place. Everyone was given assignments. Whenever an attack takes place, you go to this building and you try to keep people safe. Where I was at, which seemed to be where most of the fighting ended up being, was one of our libraries that holds basically the lineage and written histories of every person's ancestry in Kuvalia. If you are born in Kuvalia, your name is inscribed on one of the books present in that place. And that's where most of the fighting was taking place.
Why would these names be of such value to raiders from the south? if they are not of this place.
I wish I knew.
Do you believe it could have been an inside job?
It's possible. They got very close without anyone knowing, although we did find most of the people that are in charge of, walking the grounds and things at night to keep what are supposed to be petty thieves out. Most of them are dead now, so it's hard to say. But I am not so blind as perhaps some of my brethren to know or to say that it couldn't be possible.
Yet
How is
those
it-
of your order do not seem concerned as you. Do they not see the value in what has been taken?
Oh, I think they see plenty of value, but as I have come painfully to learn about the Order of Kaio, there is a way of doing things, and they want it done a certain way. And when things aren't done the way that they see it, people get in trouble. People are told to go back to their place. And, well, frankly, I'm being tired of told them to go back to my place.
Do the people of your monastery know you've left? Will they be looking for you?
One of them knows I left. The one that helped me get that, and she points to the artifact that is in Dev's hands. The one that gave me that, he knows that I left. And, well, I mean, he's not as trained as I am. He is much more on the scholarly side of things, and he recognizes that if something was taken, it needs to be recovered as quickly as possible. And even if he can't do it, he wanted to help any way he could. So he gave me that and said that he hoped in me. And, well, frankly, I'm hoping in all of you now to help me with this. And you guys can see, like, how shaken she is at all of this. Like, it's very obviously troubling. Like, every aspect of it is troubling to her.
Dev kind of stands up a little taller and goes,
Well, I haven't left the city very much, if at all. Right?
The last time that you left the city, sir, was 22 years ago.
You're right. Yes, but if it's that important, then haste, perhaps, is a best option.
Dev, do you think that you can use that to try to lead us in a direction?
Dev runs over to Audacio and like slaps it on his arm. Not enough to like damage the artifact, but like as like a magnetic gauntlet, he puts it on Audacio's arm, and it's now like this like compass rose on his forearm, and he goes,
Yes, we can.
Audacio kind of holds out his arm and like moves his arm this way and that way and says, glorious.
How many people could fit in there?
Audacio just looks at you and says, that is a good question. If you were to actually remove your legs, I bet you could fit. Shall we try that?
Never mind.
I haven't explored the bag of holding I made the other day quite yet.
I think we'll just travel by traditional means.
Wonderful.
I reach out and take Aurora's hand and I say, I hope you know I despise your order fully and vehemently in all that it stands for. But you were a friend when I needed one. I grant you this boon, but do not expect it again.
Aurora kind of takes in your words and just nods. I understand.
I will go.
Aurora looks over back and forth between Maris and Loris.
You need help finding something, I'm your guy. We have an old debt, we have an old friendship, and if you are in need of my services, you have it.
Smile crosses her face as she nods and glances in Loris's direction. Could really use your hammer, I think. These guys fight really hard.
Yes, I would gladly help you, Aurora. This is, after all, my vacation.
What? This is hey, this is your vacation?
Yes. Have you been on a vacation before?
Not one like this. You should go get like a massage or something. This isn't.
I have heard this more than once this day.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna wave down a waiter.
There isn't one. This is a hovel. This is not a fancy
Why
establishment.
are you waving?
Because I'm gonna see if they provide massages or something here. Do you know alcohol?
Of course.
You should drink. I feel hearing your version of vacation makes me sad. You should drink.
Aurora just kind of stands up. I appreciate that. Maybe we can find some place next door to get him a massage. And she's just like barely containing herself, as this is like the first moment of levity that she has had in weeks.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can consider the massage at a different time, friend.
Yeah, random person. I have a question. What do you think a massage is?
It is body work, but have you seen one who could work this stone?
I don't. Are you coming on to me? What is this? Okay, hey Aurora, let's go. Yeah, we should head out. This is a great team you got together, bestie.
Something tells me
Thanks.
it's going to be a long trip.
Yeah, you got a boulder, a robot, a pirate, and a goddess. Let's see how this goes.
As you're all standing up to go and leave, Audacio kind of leans over to Loris and says, I have very strong hands, sir. I'd be more than happy to work out a few kinks, if you like.
That could be very nice.
Wonderful. I shall invest in the research of understanding your physiology so I do not break you. And he says that with like joviality as he like kneels down for Dev to climb up into him.
Dev's like, I think I'm going to need to upgrade your hands.
I think I want a massage now.
So, you guys gather yourselves up. We're going to fast forward a little bit here, just for the sake of time. As you guys begin traveling, mostly east across the landscapes of Kuvalia, you are all very familiar with this sort of thing. I think Maris is the only one amongst you that has ever even left Kuvalia, and even that has only been a recent thing for him. And so all of you are fairly well used to the elemental landscapes as you traverse it. The beauty that it holds, but also that kind of occasional moments of untamed wild that for anybody else might bring about fear. There's a certain captivating quality that comes from walking the lands of Kuvalia. You end up going for a good solid week or so, with the direction of the compass actually pointing you, like it changes, as if the whatever it's tracking is on the move. End up that ends up moving you guys along even faster as Aurora is pushing to get there as quickly as she can. You guys have several nights of getting to know one another in taverns or campsites, drinking or not, with food that Aurora seems to just have plenty of money for, which you never knew her to actually have a lot of money. And any inquiries indicate that she one side benefit of the ransacking of her monastery is that there wasn't really many people to guard the various chests in
Oh yeah.
Naughty, naughty.
of currency that they had collected over the years, which is another irony that none of the attackers seem to care about looting the obvious coin and gems and such of things of value that were held in the monastery, things of monetary value that were held within the monastery. But nonetheless, you make your way. You eventually find yourselves farther east than any of you have ever been. Maris, you probably know that if you were to continue following straight east, you're going a little bit further north at this point, but if you were to continue following straight east, that would take you to to the other mountain pass that leads into the adjacent country of Zestrom. So you start mulling over in your mind that it's entirely possible that they just didn't want to necessarily take a route that they came in through and perhaps are looking to exit Kuvalia a different way. And like you guys all converse, telling each other what you will about yourselves or not, until eventually the compass seems to settle on a specific direction. And it settles on that direction pretty solidly for a number of days. You find yourselves traveling beyond one of the dark woodlands of Kuvalia, which there are only a few of. And to keep pace, you travel through it because that's the direction that is being called of you. And you really start to feel the untamed wilds of Kuvalia here. You can actually see elemental creatures taking form of, dire wolves and the like that operate in this place. Thankfully, you're an imposing enough group and capable enough that you don't necessarily get accosted or anything like that by any of these wild creatures. But it's still a little bit foreboding nonetheless, particularly to perhaps some of you such as Dev, who certainly has never been anywhere close to anything like this. Eventually, though, you come out on the other side and are surprised to find a small town just on the edge of this forest. The town itself very much reminds Oceana of the town that is not too far from her shrine. Simple folk leading simple lives. There's a great deal of farmland in the surrounding vicinities. The town itself is probably not more than a few dozen buildings at most at its center. And you can plainly see as the evening hours draw closer and closer to sunset, you can plainly see the smokestack of a blacksmith and the familiar smells of perhaps a stablery off to the side where they're getting ready to start shoeing, cows and horses and the like. And as you are making your way towards this very small village town, not really sure what to expect, you hear Audacia say, "Oh, that is quite interesting." And as he's holding up and looking at his arm, and Dev, you're able to notice that the compass, the magical element that keeps indicating direction, all of a sudden does a very sharp pivot. And Audacio kind of gestures his arm back, and it is very much pivoting to one central building, which is probably where, the quote unquote government building of this small town is, because these all kind of have a very similar layout where the largest building tends to be the gathering hall, the place where everybody comes to talk to whoever the elected leader is, or visiting town people of import come to the town, that sort of thing. And it is plainly pointed in that direction.
It seems we have arrived at our destination.
Aurora immediately gets extremely tense once again as you guys look around. and you see nothing but a small town. You see a handful of villagers coming and going, not too many. Seems like everybody is starting to wind down for the evening as sunset draws near.
Quick question. With the exception of the magic compass, and as we were, going eastward, northeastward, have there been any tracks of any kind of wheels or tracks of like feet, or has it only been the compass guiding us?
It's only been the compass guiding you, and it has guided you very clearly off of the well-established travel roads, and there has been no tracks. So it kind of implies maybe that the individuals that took whatever it was might have been traveling on the real roads, and that you guys kind of cut across the countryside as, catching up to them, as it were. So as you guys continue making your way into the town, I need for all of you to roll either a perception or an insight check, your choice.
Lucky number 7.
Is that a nat 20 I see from you, Maris?
Yeah.
I got a 15 insight.
6 insight.
I don't imagine Loris has visited small towns before. This is probably all very shocking for him to see. Small, quaint little towns of people not like running to wherever they need to go. Where's like the 85 carts trying to squeeze their way in front of, or down one narrow side street to get to their destination. This is all very strange to him.
What do people even do here?
They worship. Allah.
Maris, you immediately have your hackles risen as you see a couple of individuals, normal-looking people by any stretch of the imagination, wearing commoners' clothing, carrying like buckets of water or, a few satchels of their evening's dinner about to be prepared, that sort of thing, all of a sudden go rushing into a home. And as they go rushing in, you are immediately aware of eyes on you. You're not exactly sure where it's coming from, but someone is watching you.
Okay. I will slowly walk towards Dev, Loris, and I will kind of motion with my eyes towards the house that they're onto us. And then I will motion over to Aurora and Oceana after you. I figured that if we let them go first and kind of like watch around them, that they can kind of continue to proceed as I figured we've been traveling for several encounters, several weeks, and we kind of have our marching orders where we know who to protect who stands in front, behind, and I give the signal that we have been spotted and just let's go into this situation as, quote, normal as possible. But is that house the house that the compass was pointing to?
The compass was pointing to basically the town square's gathering hall right in the center of the town. Okay.
Well, then I will just tap on my rapier and motion towards the house. The two, could I tell their race? Were they other Genasis of a certain type?
Genasi don't, for the most part, don't congregate in single type congregations. It's very, very, very diverse ever since the founding, as it were. Back in ancient history times, it was a different story, but now pretty much everybody, there is no racial disparities between the different kinds of Genasi anymore.
Did my 15 insight give me anything?
Yes. So with a 15 insight, I will say that particularly after Maris starts kind of raising the alarm that perhaps you're being watched, Oceana kind of picks up on this subtle tension that exists within the town. She didn't see the people before they like scurried off into their home, but every now and then as you're walking through, you kind of see a person kind of peeking out from a window enough to see their face with an obvious look of concern on their face.
Do I get the vibe that's concerned about us?
It's entirely possible, yes.
Okay. I look at Aurora and say, "Hey, you're a monk. What's the most soft-looking, weak-looking member of your order look like? What do they wear?"
We kind of all wear this.
So you all look soft and weak. Okay. I morph my clothes. I like spin, and when I stop, my cloak has turned into one of Aurora's robes, and I like button it up so you can't see anything underneath. I like I tie my hair up into a ponytail, and I just try to act like you see Oceana's face shift into like one of like pure gratitude and penance, and I say, "Okay, brethren, let's go see what's going on." And then I walk with Aurora into the house.
She kind of rolls her eyes a little bit as your group kind of makes their way into the village proper. After you get just basically inside of the town, borders, as it were, where you're basically surrounded by the handfuls of buildings that are within sight, you are kind of caught off guard a little bit. Now, granted, it's coming close to sunset at this point. You've probably got maybe a half an hour of light left in the sky. As emerging from the blacksmith shop, you see a group of individuals, and all of you immediately recognize that these are not people from here, particularly the fact that most of them are human, which, humans exist in Kuvalia aplenty, but they're all wearing basically the kind of things that Maris would recognize from individuals that he's stealing from, or when Loris has been tasked with protecting his boss from somebody that wants to do him harm. That's immediately what you guys recognize as people that are intent on doing harm. They are brandishing weapons, seemingly crossbows and swords. They are wearing darkened and heavier leathers, and the man leading the front is an elven man, and elves are extremely uncommon in Kuvalia, like less than 0.1% of the population, right? So any of you might have only ever seen one elf before in your life, and it's fairly safe to say that encounter, the individual, is not Kuvalian. As this elven man steps forward wearing long, dark robes, the kind that are designed to travel hidden and travel fast. He steps forward, his long black hair pulled tightly behind, his ash pale skin kind of glimmering ever so faintly in the light of the moons as they are making their way across the sky as the sun starts to go down. He steps forward and just looks over at all of you at basically the front of this pack of 6 individuals, and he says, "What is it that a couple of monks from the Order of Kaio are doing in a quaint little village such as this?" And Aurora kind of steps forward and places a hand in front of Oceana and says, "I think we're looking for you." And the gentleman kind of just glances back and forth to each of you and then crosses his arms and says, "I don't think that was very smart on your part."
Can I do something?
Sure.
Oceana takes us in, sees that he looks pissed, and I start sobbing, and I push Aurora aside and go to him. And I say, "Yes, they're so right. We've been looking for you. We have long hated the Order of Kaio and all that he has done for us. We as monks, they as initiates. We are unsure of where we must go, but we have been drawn to this nation, to this wondrous village, and are hopeful that we can find solace here away from that wretched order. I am Sister Cerulean of the Order of Kaio, and I beg you to give us home."
As you come up, you are stopped short of coming up to within about 20 feet of him or so, as 3 of the other individuals raise loaded crossbows and point them at you, which I'm assuming is going to Yeah. You're still able to get out everything that you said. You're just, stopped at a distance away from the elven man.
We are former monks. We recognize the intense perversion of law that we have been forced to perpetuate in this order. We beg you for severance and pity, and now allow us to find some sort of rest where we may discuss later on.
Give me a deception check, please.
Cool, and I get those with advantage. Let me check.
When their bows go up, my bow goes up, by the way.
Okay.
The first one is a 27. Let's see, the second one is a 21, so 27.
Excellent. As you say this, the elven man just smiles, and as you continue to speak, his smile just gets more and more broad, and he turns and looks at at his companions, and he says, "See, I told you that these people were fools and idiots to treat their commoners in such ways."
We completely agree. And I think I look back at Aurora and kind of like my eyes flash as I look at her because, they know why I hate the order. I say, I completely agree. We only ask that you give us some space to rest so that we may speak with you in the morning.
Do any of the rest of you have any reactions to this situation?
Yeah, Loras would definitely step forward and be fairly close to Aurora, given his sort of penchant for protecting people. He obviously his boss. He is sort of like a bodyguard type, so he steps up just behind her a little bit, but within 5 feet of her.
Okay. Maris?
I'll kind of start flanking slowly, and as I see Loras moving, I will have my bow out and be like, "If your fitness is ready, mine is too." And be like, "Say the word, we'll go." Like,
Dev?
Dev, if there's anyone still kind of left standing next to him, he's going to like whisper in a very like low tone, "Why is she lying?"
Fuck me.
He said low tone.
I said a low tone whisper.
No, just Oceana's like, fuck me.
And then as he's seeing, I guess, everyone kind of position themselves, he's going to like open up one of the back compartments of Audioso and like pull out the collapsible crossbow and kind of just like put it on his side, and then just kind of like push Audioso, even though he can't actually push Audioso. He's just like, "Okay, you can step forward a little bit. There you go."
Yes, sir. And he's stepping forward, but always keeping you in between, and whatnot. And as you guys are coming forward like this, you see one of the gentlemen, not one of the ones that had drawn the crossbow, but one of the others that was standing there with a sword, kind of run over to his elven friend, or elven boss, as it were, and just kind of whisper to him for a second. And you guys see the elven man turn and look at Aurora and stare at Aurora for very long few moments. And then he looks back at Oceana and he says, "Well, your words were very nice, but unfortunately your friend seems to have betrayed you." And
I very dramatic, what? And I back away, and so that I am like to the side, and so I have how many people are in that group?
6.
I want to move to the side so that a few of them are between me and my friends, and say, "How could you betray me like this?"
You still have to maintain a good like 15-20 feet distance.
Oh no, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think as I'm moving backwards, I look at Maris and I wink.
Okay. Is that a subtle hint for one of you to do something?
I think I wink and just like hold out a finger like.
Okay. Loras?
Loras has been in many a scuffle So while this village is foreign to him and this small town is strange, he's been in these situations before. He's gonna wait till the last moment before things pop off. But the first thing he will do is use his Sentinel's mark to protect Aurora. When things are about to pop off, he's gonna mark her to protect her.
Okay, cool, got it. Did you have something else you want to do, Joey?
I think as I move away from everyone again, so I'm like 15 feet away from them.
You're about 15, 20 feet away from the group, yeah.
So theoretically, they could not swing at me and hit me without moving.
Correct.
Okay. Looking at my entire team, does everyone look like they're ready to fight?
Yeah, everybody except for maybe Dev, who is like, kind of, you can't really see behind the legs of, Audacio.
I think I'm still like sobbing, saying, "Oh, you should have seen it. You should have seen the horrors. You should have seen all the dead bodies. And guess what? You're gonna see more." And I cast Shatter in a line.
Okay. So let's go ahead and roll initiative. And we'll go ahead and let you do your shatter. It's just a normal shatter spell, right?
Yeah, I believe it goes down in a line so I can hit a few people.
It's not a line, but it is an area.
Yeah, I think what's it called? I'm gonna do an area 10-foot radius. You said that they were all kind of grouped up, right?
Yeah, you'll be able to get probably 4 of them. Because they're not like standing shoulder to shoulder, right? But you'd be able to get like 4 of them easily enough.
And then how does in D&D? So your DC is 8 plus 3 plus your spell casting.
So your save DC on D&D Beyond is 15 right now. It's 8 plus 2 plus your casting modifier, so 15 total.
Dope. What's it called? Yeah, I cast it.
Wonderful.
Right. Hey, if shit's gonna pop off, might as well get a surprise round.
No problem. And I'm gonna roll initiative for Oceana or Aurora, not Oceana. Sorry.
And those who fail take not that great, only 15 damage.
That's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, is that a con save or a dex save?
It is. Let me see. Constitution.
Okay. So let me just do 4 quick rolls here. Bam. So that is 1 success and 3 failures.
Amazing.
From the lot. Yeah. So you cast Shatter, immediate reactions of alarm from everybody, and this boom of thunderous sound kind of erupts from the center of them. I'm assuming you were trying to also get the elven guy, right?
Yeah, and I will say it looks like, you know how a jet ski cars through water? It looks like that, just heading straight towards them.
Perfect. Slams into the group of them. It doesn't knock anyone off of their feet, right? There's no fall down mechanic in that spell, right?
Let me double check. If any of them are made of stone, crystal, or metal, thank God I didn't get the robot. What's it called is and also a non-magical object that isn't being worn or carried also takes damage. So I assume that's their weapon.
Yeah. Well, it's being worn and carried, so
Okay,
it does not take damage. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, it definitely rocks more than a few of them. You notice, however, that the elven man, there is a shimmering ward of arcane force around him, and that deflects seemingly all of the damage that would have been coming at him as the magical essence of your shadow interacts with his magical ward. So, initiatives for everybody. Oceana, you actually also get to go first.
Oh, dope. Okay, let me see. I am 15 feet away from everyone. Let me see what
I'm gonna add, since everybody was prepared, I know that Dave, you were you were doing your Sentinel's mark on Aurora.
That's
Adrian and Aaron, did you guys have any? I'll let you guys get off in action too, because you guys were kind of privy to Oceana pulling off this stunt.
Well, as soon as the spell went off, I'm gonna untwang the bow and just. I was ready. So as soon as the explosion happened, I'm gonna take
Go
on
ahead
one of the.
Go ahead and give me a quick attack roll and tell me who you're targeting. Aaron, did you have anything for Dev?
I guess I'm going to unfurl the crossbow and kind of chuck it 10 or 15 feet away from me so it, unfurls and becomes the turret.
Cool.
Nice.
How much damage did you get? Because that definitely hit. Maris, what was your total damage?
8 damage.
And were you targeting anyone specifically?
One of the people holding the crossbows.
Okay. Roll a
Closest
d4.
to Oceana.
Okay, closest to Oceana. Yeah, roll a d4.
1.
Okay. Oceana, the bandit that the gentleman, I should say, that was standing closest to you, which is one of the ones that you got to hit with your spell, all of a sudden a arrow just slices right through his cheek and tears off part of his face as he collapses to the ground dead from Maris's bow. It is now... Well, he had gotten hit by the... He had gotten hit by the thing and took an additional 8 damage.
Oh shit! Okay.
So
sorry.
23 total. The one was to see if it was one of the ones. The D4 was to see if it was the one that had failed, or one of the ones that had failed to save.
Okay,
So,
I thought it took one
and it was.
Okay,
No.
great.
Oceana, it is your turn.
Okay, let me think. So one's dead. So do the other ones look pretty messed up?
If the ones that you hit with the spell don't look happy.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna do. They're still in a group.
Yeah, and nobody has gotten to go or move yet. So
Really hoping that we don't do anything. We need a lot going forward because I'm using a lot of spell slots. I'm gonna back again out of range. I'm gonna back away some with my group, and I'm gonna cast Nather's Mischief on them. So that is. Let me tell you what the range on that is. The range on it is. Oh my gosh! Come on, D&D, hurry up. It is. So it's 60 feet from self. It is a 20-foot cube. So how many of them can I get in that?
20-foot cube.
Yeah.
I'll say that you could get all but one.
Okay.
So if you want to include, you can get everybody but the elf, or you can get basically everybody except for one of the other guys.
I'm gonna do everyone except for one of the ones I already injured that failed the save. So that way I know, like, if that's possible.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
We're being I'm pretty fluid about this stuff, so you can absolutely free target that.
Yeah.
What does this do?
So I rolled on the mischievous surge table. I got a 4, so that means you all watch as small storm clouds appear over them, and in the entire queue that they occupy, it begins to rain, and the ground turns muddy and sticky. And for the next, let me see, yeah, just for now, it's turned into difficult terrain until the beginning of my next turn.
Awesome. Did you have anything else you want to do with your bonus action?
Bonus action. I think I drop my visage and I'm back in my like dope ass outfit, and with that bonus action, I make my coat billow. Just like looking badass.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So it is now Aurora's turn. Aurora seems to recognize the individual that had walked over and talked to the elven man. And with a deft grace and rapid movement, you see them charge forward, flinging themselves at that man. You see this staff kind of emerge hidden from beneath their robes, rippling with waves of not arcane energy, but almost like if you are staring at a sunset in the desert and you see those waves of heat that rise up off of the ground. You can kind of see that kind of effect coming off of the end of their staff as they charge forward, getting just to the edge of where the rainy, muddy ground is, and swinging their staff down upon them. Right, so that's one attack. 17 total, that hits. 2 hands with some damage. That's 8 points of damage. And then following that up with a bonus action fist. Unarmed striking. 18 to hit. That's another
Yes.
5 points of damage. So in a quick array of slamming across with the staff and then just a punch straight into the solar plexus of this guy, you see him kind of crumple beneath the hidden strength of Aurora as he just collapses to the ground, all breath and life escaping from him. Loris, it is your turn, sir.
So just fill me in here. So Aurora just ended this guy.
Oh yeah, he was injured already. Yeah,
Okay.
he was one of the ones that was injured previously. So
There's a difficult terrain between us and whatever's left of these assailants. Is that correct?
no, it was
Oceana?
just where they stood.
Okay.
So basically, if you could get into the difficult terrain, I think actually you being an Archonasi, it doesn't actually bother you.
Yeah, it depends. I think it depends on what sort of terrain it is.
I did say it was muddy, which is like Earth.
All right, you can move across difficult terrain on the ground or floor without using extra movement. So I can walk right through it.
Yeah, you can walk right through it being an
Yep.
Urchinasi, so it doesn't bother you in the slightest. You've got the elven guy, and you've basically got 3 other figures. One of those figures does look a little bit more stalwart than the others. One of the ones that was wielding a sword, he has a great sword instead of a regular long sword.
Okay. And are they're all reachable within one movement, roughly? Yeah. Okay.
You guys were all relatively close enough to each other, and I'm not using a battle map, so it's totally fine.
Sure. All right. Well, in that case, he's going to just stride forward nonchalantly as he pulls out his maul, and he's going to walk straight up to the guy with the greatsword and just sort of give him a wink as he swings it around and comes down on him with a smash of this. What you guys see is as this hammer swings, there's like these glittering, like almost like stars that trail as it comes through the air, coming down on this guy. This is the Maul of the Guiding Star. Let's see.
Boom.
What does
See
it
what
do?
happens
I'm so
here.
excited.
I think that's a 17 total.
That hits.
Okay. Ooh, that's some pretty good damage there. I don't know what that. Let's see. How do I see that?
That's 16 damage.
16 damage. I'm also going to expend a charge on this thing, so that means when I hit a target with this weapon, I can expend a charge. When I do, the target is dusted in glimmering starlight, which lasts until the end of my next turn. The next attack roll against the target is made with advantage.
Okay. I'm not going to make you use the charge because you totally crushed this guy's skull.
Oh, all right. I won't use the charge then.
But I
But
will
we'll
still
just say
say
for
his
flavor, like
body is
he's just
glowing.
glittering. Yeah, there's just glitter,
Crushed
just
by glitter.
like dust everywhere.
There's craft herpes in every orifice.
Oh my god.
You
Possibly.
literally- this guy's like half got his great sword like out of the scabbard and sees you coming, and his eyes go wide as your maul just lands straight into his face, and he
Just
doesn't have a face
crushes him.
anymore.
Loris just turns towards the elven man, and says, "This is a great start to my vacation." And he takes a step towards the other guy.
Nice.
Your guy considers
I-
all enemies chairs.
I'm giving you inspiration for that one. That was glorious, sir.
Thank you.
Take an inspiration. Maris,
Thank
you are up.
I will once I've shot the bow, I just drop it on the ground and take out my rapier of rapid reaction, so it doesn't really cost me anything to pull it out. And I will how many people are still standing after that fantastic display?
3 total. The elven guy and 2 of the guys with crossbows.
I will go after another one with the crossbow, and I will go in for a swift attack.
Okay.
Not too much. I think I missed with a 10.
10 misses, unfortunately. Dave, do you want to be very kind
Yeah, I was
to
gonna ask if I
Adrian
could-
and give your inspiration?
Yeah, I was going to ask if we could do that. So yeah, I will definitely give that inspiration to Maris.
Oh, well, thank you.
So this triggers a special house rule that I have for inspiration. If you give your inspiration to someone else, they automatically succeed with a minimal success, whatever they were trying to do, as long as it did not require them to roll a natural 20.
Very
So
cool. So it hits.
your 10 miraculously turns into a 15,
Okay.
and you successfully manage to hit this individual. Go ahead and roll your damage.
Will be 11 points of damage.
Nice. So go ahead and just roll a d6 for me real quick.
3.
3. Okay, this is the one that had been uninjured so far. So he is now bloodied from the impact. Do you have anything else?
Well, I think after I strike at the person, I can Nope, I will just sit there and I will wave my rapier around as if I'm trying to get glitter off it.
Hey, that glitter just helped you hit.
I figured my rapier went through it. That's so just like,
Yeah. The dust of glitter that poofed up from next to this guy from the fallen companion got
Right.
into your rapier and made him not able to see it coming. Great. So it is now the one guy left with the crossbow. It is now his turn. He starts backing away, kind of trudging through the mud to kind of back up a little bit and get away from you all, and is contemplating whether or not to run, and decides to just fire off a shot. Let me see who he hits, because I don't think that he really knows who he's supposed to hit. He's going after you, Oceana, since you were the one that unleashed all of that spell stuff. So he is going to launch an attack. That is a 19 to hit.
Oh, that hits. Damn it.
Okay. For 7 points of damage, as you take a crossbow bolt, basically right into the edge of your shoulder. Not enough for it to stay lodged into your shoulder, but enough to injure you nonetheless.
You will just watch Oceana have this happen. They just look and be like, "You fucker, are you kidding me? You shot me right now?"
It messed up your clothes. How could he?
I'm gonna kill you. You all see it.
Mistake.
Dave get trained directly on this person.
Fair enough. That's all that he can do. It is now the Elven man's turn. He's looking around and seems to be quite perturbed, but not really he doesn't seem afraid by everything that's going on around him.
Should be.
His people are getting blown up, basically, and he's just annoyed. And several of you are standing in fairly general proximity. You see him actually not walking on the ground. He's floating a good 2 or 3 inches above the ground, and he just drifts back a few feet, and you see him create this sigil of arcane runes out of nothing but the air in front of him, and he just kind of smiles for a moment and then breathes into it, and wherever he breathes, this noxious fume interacts with the runes and just erupts in the space all in front of you, which is going to get Adrian, Loris, and Aurora all in its sway. I need for each of you to make Constitution saving throws. And Dev, I will say that the runic magic that he used there very much strikes you as a perversion of artifice and wizardry type magic. Oh, I guess I should roll for Aurora, huh?
Can I use a reaction?
I don't know. It depends on the reaction. Did it trigger?
Absorb elements, which is a spell that I can cast as a reaction.
So it's going to be poison damage. Does poison damage count in absorb elements? I don't think it does.
I don't really know. Yeah, maybe. Nope, it sure doesn't.
Okay. So unfortunately, not this time.
Okay.
But so I saw a 17 in there. Who got the 17? I assume Loris.
Yes.
Okay. Maris, you got a 4. Aurora got a 9. So Loris succeeds, so he is not poisoned. He still
nice.
does take, however, some poison damage. So Maris, both poisoned. Sorry, go ahead.
Quick thing. As I see the poison coming, I do have an item called Fortune's 5 pence, which allows me to re-roll my saving throw that gets under a 10. I was like, I want to see if luck is on my side real quick.
Go for it.
Fortune favors the bulls. I guess I got 21 this time.
Nice. So you are not poisoned. Aurora is poisoned, however, and Aurora is extremely injured as she takes 23 points of damage, and both Maris and Loris take 11.
Can I try to use a different reaction?
Sure. What's your reaction?
Well, so this one is the class feature, the Sentinel's Mark. Is this guy within attacking distance, or is he too far away from me?
Oh, is it an attack? Because this was a spell. I don't think that the spell
I want to
triggers that.
react so bad. All right.
I mean, you're reacting as a person, but you can't use your reaction.
Thank you, Aaron.
Sorry, Dave. I guess I should have just attacked Aurora with the crossbow.
It's all right.
Devracer, you are up, sir.
So, does the gentleman who shot the crossbow that hit Oceana, is he within, I think the Steel Defender has a 45-foot movement. I know he's in some difficult terrain, so I guess the question is, or he has a 40-foot move, would he be able to close and engage?
Because he has a 40-foot move, yes, he will be moving into the difficult terrain, but most of his movement is just getting up to the difficult terrain. And then, like, well, I guess about half of it, and then about half of it is actually walking through, but he doesn't have to go that far.
Okay.
So he can absolutely go in and try to blast that guy up.
Okay. So I guess I'm going to use my bonus action to command Audacio to Protocol Alpha and move up and engage the crossbowman who shot Oceana. And then I'm going to use my action. You're going to hear the turret chirp once or twice, and then it's going to immediately, like, very aggressively turn towards the elf and then launch a magically infused crossbow bolt at the elven man.
Go for it.
So it doesn't really show up on my, like, you can't add the bonus for the infusion, but I'll just be adding +1 to the attack roll because I infused it with repeating shot.
Cool.
So let's see here.
I can show you how to customize that later so it shows up.
I'm going to use my halfling's luck on that nat 1.
Yeah, probably a good time to use it.
And I'm going to roll again. Oh, that is a 25 to hit.
No, yes, that hits.
And then because of the infusion, I also add +1 to its damage roll. So it's 7 points of piercing damage.
Awesome. So one thing worth noting is that that magical ward that had deflected all of Oceana's spell does not seem to work against crossbow bolts, as the bolt does fly basically into the guy's robes and come out the other side with a spray of blood as it's cut through the man. And he reacts. He seems to react more out of annoyance than, pain. but he does react.
Dev is very confused, but all of this is very much new to him anyway, so he's just going to keep hoping that he survives. And then I guess he's going to use his move action, which is his only one left, to position himself in a spot of cover.
Okay. And Audacio gets to attack the other guy?
Yeah, he gets to, on his turn, use his kit to move up and attack, so...
He's going on your turn.
Yeah, he technically goes after me on the same
so-
turn. Yeah.
All right, go ahead and roll that attack then.
Let's go, robot.
So let's see. He gets to do Force Empowered Rend, which is a +4 to hit. I don't have one of those on my thing, I don't think. So
Just roll a flat d20.
yeah, D20. Roll. There we go. Yeah, he got a 6. And since I know from earlier they have 15, I'm going to assume a miss.
Yeah, that is most definitely a miss. But he definitely is like running up to this guy, just and he's like faking an aggressive, like charging howl type thing that he assumes he's supposed to do when he attacks things, and like, yeah, just
This is
swings
anger.
wide. Yes, this is anger, and misses unfortunately. Okay. Let's see. Guy is dead. Those are all dead. We're back at the top of the round. Oceana got the elf and a guy that the robot wants to kill.
Yeah, first I look at Dev and say, "Weird child, I think your robot's broken."
He's not broken, and I'm not a child.
I know. Yeah, I don't. I'll be honest. We only call you that.
Half the size doesn't mean half the age.
You're right. Weird halfling. Your robot is broken. I don't. You need to. We'll discuss. And then so is this something I could roll? So do I get the vibe that the magic didn't work, but physical attacks will, based on the arrow?
Certainly his ward did not seem to block the physical attack like it blocked the magic.
Okay, I think if a creature is blinded, do you get advantage against it?
Yes.
Okay, great. I think you all watch as on the swirling, moving tattoos on Oceana's arms, she reaches down and plucks one off, and you see fully it's like a feather quill in the shape of like kind of like a feather shark. She like twirls it around, and then she like lets it fly at the guy, and you hear her just whisper, "Okay, let's go, Tibby. Come on, Tibby, let's go." And I'm gonna roll a hit.
Okay.
Let me see. Damn, it does not say. Okay, so I guess I just add my dexterity to it, right?
Dexterity and proficiency bonus. Normal ranged attack.
Hell yeah. Okay, not great at this. Let's pray, everyone. Oh, it's a 7. I guess. Yeah, I like let it loose, and I'm not good at throwing things. Which I think you see it fully go like far over the elf's head, like far. I was like, God fucking damn it. Okay, this is not my day. Okay, someone else try something.
But then the feather reappears in your hand.
It does, and I think who's
Yeah.
up next after me?
Aurora.
I look at Aurora, seeing that she's badly, and I say, "Kill this person," and I give her bardic inspiration.
Awesome. Aurora will take it. Just so you guys know, Aurora is in single digits of health.
Oh, I should have.
I mean, Dev might have like mentioned to come to her if she needs to heal.
Aurora seems very fixated on fighting at the moment. You get the sense that this is in a way cathartic, that she's been itching for revenge, and so Aurora is going to, particularly with her recent bardic inspiration, is going to summon her arms of the astral self.
Yes,
You guys
the best monks of
you guys see her wave her staff in front of her as it begins floating in the space in front of her, and slowly coalescing, you see 2 translucent arms that are now handling the staff. in front of her. And her hands are completely free other than these translucent arms that are connected basically to her torso, now wielding the staff as she gets to unleash some attacks. So the first attack is with the staff. That is a 16 to hit, which does hit. And that is another 7 points of damage. And then she gets to do 2 attacks with her arms. The first is a natural 1. That sucks.
Can I use my reaction to give you bountiful luck?
Did you?
It's a new round though.
It's a new round. Sure.
So I'm using my reaction to give you bountiful luck. You can re-roll the damage.
That's a nat 20.
That worked.
Great. Yep. And then a third attack as well. That's a 19 to hit. So 2 hits. One of them is a crit. So the crit does 9 points of damage, and then the non-crit does 5 points of damage. So yeah, she just unloads on this elven guy, and seemingly bypassing that magical ward that would protecting him ostensibly against spells, and just pummels him in several places, and he now is actively bleeding from like his mouth and like the side of his head and whatnot as these hits slammed into him. Then that is going to bring us to you, Loris.
All right, so he closes the distance between himself and the elven poison thrower, and is going
and the ground is no longer difficult terrain, right? That ended?
It did.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't for Loris anyway. I'm just
right.
Wanting to make sure for everyone.
And he's going to take a swing at this guy with his maul.
The elf?
Yep.
Do it.
Do it now. Is he blinded? Did I hear something about him being blinded, or did that not happen?
It did not.
Okay,
did not
got
succeed.
It. All right.
It did not happen. I'm very embarrassed.
That's okay. I don't think that hits. It's a 14.
14 does in fact miss.
Let's see. Yeah, that's about it. He's basically going to try to get himself in between this magic user and his friend Aurora to try to provide some level of protection.
Cool. You are basically standing right next to the two of them. Maris, you are up.
First thing after dealing with the poison and looking over, seeing Aurora fighting valiantly, Maris will yell out her name, and I will use my action movement to grab her, and we'll grab them and move them in, and use myself along with Loris as a kind of a defensible position, and going to use her to. I have a bonus action to disengage from combat, and I'm going to attempt to very agilely try to get her further away from where we can get attacked again from poison. So trying to bring it closer to. I'm going to try and attempt to grab Aurora, move her closer to Deb.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a perception check before you do that.
Okay. $11.
Okay. With an 11, I'll give you 2 pieces of information that might change your course of action. The first is the area of the poison was substantial. It was basically like a 20-foot cone.
Okay.
Right? So if he were to do that again, like if he was really wanting to target Aurora, he'd be able to target Aurora, right?
Okay.
The other thing too is he's very injured at this point. Between the arrow from before and the pummeling that he just took, and the not being things that his magical ward protect against, you can see that he's pretty severely injured at this point.
Okay. Well, in that case, might as well go in for another strike then. So I will use my rapier, and the elf is not distracted in any way, not blinded, not. I'm not in a position to do a sneak attack, I'm assuming.
Well,
He's
no,
en-
you have allies there. You could do sneak
Yeah,
attack, but you
he's
just don't get
engaged.
advantage.
Loras is like right there in his face.
Yeah. So is Aurora.
That would be a 12.
Unfortunately, a 12 also misses. As you guys are fighting valiantly against this elf, he seems to move with natural grace and avoid your attacks. I need for everybody to actually roll a d20 for me.
Oh my gosh, what? Jeez. It's such an ominous ask. I got 5. Oh no. Let me add something to that. Come
I
on.
can't reroll, so that's a bummer.
Nope. Just roll a d20 and give me a number.
I got a 5.
Okay.
11.
Dave?
Yeah. I just rolled a whole bunch of them. 10.
Yeah, 47 isn't right.
No, 10.
A 10. Okay. So, in the interest of time, because we are fairly over our time slot here, what I'm going to, and this guy was, both of these guys are basically single digit hit points, right? I'm going to say that over the course of the next fight, there are some more spells that occur from the elven guy. A few of you get more injured, and I'll say Aurora falls, but you guys are able to stabilize her. She doesn't die or anything like that. She just falls unconscious because she literally had 4 hit points. And Maris is able to get the killing blow on the elf to bring him down. And so I would like Adrian to please describe, in this fight where magic, this corrupted kind of magic, is getting thrown about the space and several of your friends are injured and or dying. Describe to me how Maris gets this final blow upon the elf.
I think during the combat itself, seeing of the spells that Oceana has been casting, the glitter malls that are being swiped across the sky, getting hit with the elven spells of yet another attempt at poisoning, and everyone trying to work together in unison. Things weren't going very well for us in terms of focusing. That was until we heard Aurora scream out and then go silent. I think it was at that moment that all of her friends, all of us, remembering why we were here and who sent us here, we all kind of glanced a look at each other, and like Maris's heart like skips a beat of like, what are we doing, and focus on our goal. And I think it was at that moment that we kind of moved in unison, to distract, to flank, and to kind of whirlwind in almost a kind of like single yell of like a rally. There's brute strength, magic, and swiftness. At the end of it all, it kind of all went in a flash as suddenly a yell in a language you didn't understand. It must have been elven of some sort, screeched as suddenly there was a warm liquid coming down his blade and going into his hands. He looks down to see elven blood on it. And as it seemed to go so quickly, and to look around to see all of his friends bruised, kind of poisoned. We've been traveling for many weeks, but this is that moment where we learned how to work together. And it was all because of Aurora. And at the end of it all, we stand over her, and very frantically, I look over to Dev to kind of, with that kind of look, is she going to be okay type.
Love it. That was wonderful. Great description. We will actually find out next week what happens to Aurora. Point of clarification, the blood that drips down Maris's blade and onto his hand is black ichor.
Ooh.
It is not normal blood. But that was wonderful, you guys. Thank you so much for coming here tonight and engaging in this wonderful story. Very much appreciated all of the amazing role play from every single one of you. Please, let's go quickly around the table and mention or tell everyone watching where they can find you online and the like, please. We'll start with Adrian.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Adrian. You can reach out to me on Twitter at @SlySparrow_. Feel free to say hi. Same thing on Twitch as well. Looking forward to talking to you all.
Aaron?
Hi, my name's Aaron. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can find me on Facebook at aaron.stubbs, and just shoot me a message, say hi, and maybe we can start a conversation.
Awesome. Dave?
Hey everybody, Dungeon Dave here. We've got a bunch of great stuff coming up here in the next couple days. Tomorrow night we'll be diving back into our Heroes of Greyhawk, and then Friday we'll be broadcasting our Shadesong Saga, and then we'll flip around next week and do a bunch more gaming. So yeah, stick around. If you're not following, please do.
Yes. Awesome. Joey?
Hi everyone, Joey, pronounced he, him, his again. If you want, you can follow me on Instagram at JoeyMedina99. That's JoeyMedina99. I remember how to spell my last name. And yeah, shoot me a DM, we can talk about nerd stuff all day, every day.
Wonderful. And I am Miko at @the_OKS_GM on Twitter. Feel free to hit me up if you ever want to talk homebrew or AI art. I am happy to engage in such conversations. We shall see, hopefully, all of you again next week for the continuation and wrap up of this wonderful story of friends coming together around a common friend. Dave, we're raiding into somebody, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and raid into our friend Jason over at TTRPG Academy. So it looks like they've got some minis out on the table playing some D&D. So give them some of that Guild Superior love, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
See you next week, guys.